The organizational meeting for Rock Ridge here, January 9th, 2023. At this time, I would like John Yuhan, Polly Sorkin, and Lisa Westby, please stand. We're going to...
And me too.
Yeah.
Oh,
You always forget about me.
I always forget about you. I'm sorry. Nicole Colbert Dahl. It is an honor that you were appointed to guide the education of our community's children. As you recite the oath of office, you assume tremendous responsibility as a director of our school district with the duties empowered by the state of Minnesota legislature. This power puts you and the other members of your school board in a position of being both morally, legally responsible for the equity, quality education of every student in the district. In carrying out this responsibility, you will be asked to fulfill the roles of vision, structure, accountability, advocacy. To provide providing vision, the board with extensive participation with the community envisions the community educational future and then formulates goals, defines outcomes, and sets the course for the public schools. To achieve a vision, the board establishes a structure and creates an environment designed to ensure that all students have the opportunity to attain their maximum potential through a sound organizational framework. Because as a board member, we must be accountable to the community, we must endure a continuous assessment of student achievement in all conditions affecting the education of our children. As school board, we serve as educational key advocates on behalf of the students and our community schools to advance the vision of our schools. Furthermore, we must strive together with the superintendent and staff to lead the district toward fulfilling the vision we have created, fostering excellence for every student in the areas of academic skills, knowledge, citizenship, and personal development. After I give you your oath at the end of the meeting, you will sign these. I want you all to, I would imagine, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I swear and affirm
I swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of this state,
and of the state.
and I will discharge faithfully
And I will discharge faithfully
the duties of the office of school board
the duties of the office of school board
of the Independent School District 2909
of the Independent School District 2909
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
Thank you, everyone, and the rest of us should walk around and welcome them to the school board.
Oh.
Congratulations. Thank you. You bet. Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome back. Thank you, Brandon. You're welcome.
Thank you. Lisa, welcome.
Yep, thank you.
Lisa, John, congratulations. Go on.
No, we'll,
Oh, wait, I'm almost done.
we got to conduct roll call and pledge of allegiance actually should have been first.
So I'm looking for a approval of the I'm looking for approval of the organizational meeting agenda.
I will make the motion.
Support.
Motion by Brandy, support by Bill Addy. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? With no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item number 4, election of board officers. Number 1, we're looking to elect election of the chairperson. Is there a motion for the chairperson?
I'll make a motion for Bill Addy.
I will graciously accept.
We have a motion by Brandy for Bill. Is there any other nominations? Is there any other nominations?
I'd make a motion for Nicole Colbert.
So we have Nicole Colbert.
Can I decline that?
You certainly can.
Thank you, though, Lisa. I appreciate it.
Nicole declines. Is there any other nominations? With no further nominations, the election of the chairperson will be closed, and by acclamation, Bill, the meeting is yours.
Thank you. Okay, moving forward. Can I get nominations for the vice chair? Any nominations for vice chair?
Nominate John Yuhan.
I'll accept.
I'll support that. Any other nominations for vice chair?
I'll nominate Nicole.
Any other nominations for vice chair?
Ask her if she accepts.
Do you accept?
I'll accept that, yes.
Okay. Any other nominations? So we got a tie. Well, no, it'd be two.
We have to vote.
Yep. we have
Okay,
to-
vote. Okay, so by a show of hands. How are you going to vote
Yep.
by show of hands or just
Yep.
going to go?
That's fine.
Roll call. By a show of hands, how many would like John Yuhan as the vice chair? Okay. How many for Nicole Colbert for vice chair?
4-3.
So it's a 4? Huh?
4-3.
4-3.
4-3. Congratulations, John. Can I get a motion for the clerk?
I'll nominate Lisa for the clerk.
I'll nominate Brandy for the clerk. Brandy Lett.
I'll support that.
I'll accept.
Okay.
Lisa was first, correct?
Yes, Lisa was first. Thank you for keeping that.
Yep.
Any other nominations for clerk? Okay. So for a vote of 2,
You gotta vote.
Yep,
You gotta vote.
okay, vote no, with a show of hands.
correct.
Okay, all right. For vice chair, for clerk,
Clerk.
show of hands for
I was first vote.
Lisa was first.
okay,
Lisa,
for Lisa, show of hands for Lisa. A show of hands for Brandy. Okay. Why 4-3, Brandy is the clerk. Can I get a nomination for treasurer?
I'll make the motion for Nicole.
And I will support that. Any other nominations for treasurer?
You accept?
I'll accept, yes.
Okay. Any other nominations for treasurer? With no other nominations, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. 4.5, alternate clerk. Can I get a nomination for a?
I'll make the motion to make Lisa the alternate clerk.
Any other nominations for alternate clerk?
I'll make the motion to nominate Tim.
Any other nominations for alternate clerk?
I'm going to withdraw, but thank you. Give
Okay.
Lisa,
Okay, with Tim Reardon withdrawing. No other nominations for alternate clerk? Congratulations, Lisa. Organizational business. Number 5. Set salaries for board directors. In the description for 2022, the board members are paid $250 a month. That's $250 a month, with the vice chair receiving $275, the chair receiving $300. The board members serving on the negotiating committee receive $50 for each session lasting up to 5 hours and $100 for sessions lasting 5 hours or more.
I'll make the motion to keep it the same.
I've got a motion on the table.
Support.
Support. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I mean, any discussion? Excuse me, 5.1, any discussion?
Yeah, just that the vice chair rarely takes charge of a meeting, so I don't know that it needs to be $275 a month for the chair. I can see where the negotiating committee, they put in a lot of time, they should be, reimbursed for their time, but vice chair is kind of like a placeholder, very
But
takes over.
yeah, but that person, the vice chair has to kind of like, be at the ready in case, unless something happens,
Just to run a meeting.
just to run a meeting. Yeah, I mean, right. Any other discussion on 5.1?
I'd make that as an amendment, just keep the vice chair at 250, like the other directors.
Support.
In case you want to keep the vice chair at 250?
Any support? Any second?
I
It's-
think Tim supported.
No, I
Yeah.
didn't. I said
Oh.
you have to have support to change it.
Sorry.
So you want the vice chair to go from 275 to 250?
Yeah, just like the other directors.
Any more discussion on that? Any
Chair-
support?
Chair 300 is fine, and the rest is fine to me, but
You got any support? Just
There's no support
no
yet.
support? Okay, all those in favor signify by keeping it as is, signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carries. 5.2, approval of Columbus Day is not a school holiday. The action allows the school district to conduct school business on Columbus Day. This is done in advance to allow for proper notification. 5.2, can I get a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Support. Okay, any discussion?
I allow for proper notification. What does that mean?
I guess for the school calendar and I guess, Noel, you want to shed some light on that?
Who's the pledge of allegiance?
Yes, I'm happy to. Members of the school board. This is one that comes
We get through
every
this.
year. That asks you to consider this every year, and this is because Columbus Day can or cannot be considered a holiday by the school board. It's really your choice. And depending upon your perception and background, Columbus Day might be a holiday, and Columbus Day might not be a holiday. So it's your call as far as you want to tell us to officially make it a holiday or not, but you have to act on it.
Do we currently have Columbus Day off?
No,
It's a regular school day.
the regular school day, yeah.
I'd make the motion to keep it as is.
I'll support.
Motion by Randy, so support by Director Reardon.
Didn't I already,
It
No, no.
is a federal holiday, though.
I made the motion, John already seconded.
Okay, all right.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Brandy.
So
Discussion? Did you have some
Yeah,
discussion?
it's a federal holiday, and I know we can change it, but I mean,
Well, if we don't make this, if we make this a holiday, then the teachers would and students would be off one less day. And we've already set the calendar for next year. Nope, not for next year. I'm sorry.
so this is something that we revisit every year.
every year. And I don't know how many other districts
I-
have Columbus Day off.
I
I mean,
the state, it's a big deal in the state of Minnesota as far as school boards distinction, so. And I believe that we do indigenous things on Columbus Day within our school because we have such a large population and indigenous programs, so.
If we do something about Indigenous program, do we do anything about Columbus being an explorer?
I think it's just the holiday itself.
It's a
just the
holiday.
day itself.
Yeah.
So we'll just,
All right, that's,
so we had a discussion. So 5.2 is on the table to just leave it as it is. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
No.
Okay. I'm going to stop here for a second for 5.2 because we got through this meeting, the organizational meeting, without a roll call, and without
Well,
the Pledge
that-
of Allegiance.
Well, that doesn't, you do that at
The
the
regular meeting?
regular meeting, Bill.
Sure?
Yeah, it's listed in the regular meeting.
Okay. I just was,
Don't we do a roll call though, or no?
all right, okay, we'll just keep rolling along if that's what the board decides.
Okay.
Sounds like what that we want to do. 5.3. Okay, set the 2023 regular board meetings and time. To consider including the meeting schedule that you have in your board packet. If the meeting needs to be rescheduled for any reason, the meeting will be rescheduled for the next day, same time, same place. Then there will be no need for a 3-day notice. 5.3, the only meeting is proposed is for the one in July and December.
Because we only have one meeting.
Right, so,
Make a motion to accept it as presented.
I support.
okay. Any discussion?
Not on the meeting schedule itself, but we've talked about this before, about getting our board packets a little earlier. Friday for a Monday meeting is kind of a rush job, and I was hoping that we could at least get our board packets on Thursday. The former Evelyn Gilbert board, we had our Tuesday meetings and we got our board packets on Thursday. And I know things are settling down now, we're kind of coasting to the end of all the projects and the curriculum is in line and things are pretty much whatever. So I think we really need to get our board packets and our information.
I 100%
Yeah,
agree with that.
and I'm going to agree with that too.
Good.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
So how does that play into, 5.3 plays into the board package?
Just basically letting Noel.
Just a regular-
Letting Noel know.
Like it's Thursday.
Okay, so,
Instead of Friday. Yeah.
so we have a motion on 5.3.
Yeah, Johan and Nicole.
Okay. Any more discussion on 5.3? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 5.4, approval of Independent School District 2909 mileage rate at the IRS standard rate of 65.5 cents per mile beginning January 1st, 2023.
So moved.
Support?
Support.
Okay.
I would possibly suggest just leaving it as IRS standard mileage rate because this year the IRS changed
Mid-year?
mid-year. So if we just say it's the mileage rate for the IRS, then the accounting, and we don't have to reapprove it later on in the year, if that ever happens.
Yeah. So Polly, would you
Just that, just the
accept
one.
the friendly amendment of just having it as IRS standard mileage rate?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to remove that from there. Are you fine with that, Nicole?
Absolutely, yep.
Okay, with that friendly amendment being approved, any more discussion on 5.4? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 5.5, designate school depositories, excuse me. That's gonna. Franklin Bank and Trust, Miners Bank, and the First National Bank of Gilbert.
Ms. Laff and the rest of them.
Yeah. Okay,
I'll make the motion to keep it as is. I
go ahead.
support.
Okay, any discussion on 5.5?
I kind of always ask this question, but how do we decide, how do we distribute among, especially our local banks, the amount of money or the accounts that we keep in them
That would be
on an equal basis or?
probably a question for Spencer.
And I believe he's not here
Here.
today.
So,
No, I would just hope that it's equalized out somehow.
I don't know, I don't have that answer for you.
Okay.
So any more discussion on 5.5? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Here. Motion carries.
One abstention.
Yeah. 5.6, authorize the hiring of a school attorney as an on-needed basis considered recommendations, Colosimo, Pratchett,
Action, yeah.
Kearney, Rupp, Anderson, Squires, and Walsberger, PA, Ratwick, Rozak, and Maloney.
I'll make a motion.
Support.
5.6. Any discussion on this? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 5.7, consider establishing newspaper as the legal publication for the business for 2023. Right now, we do have papers, Mesabi Daily News and the Hometown Focus.
Make a motion that we continue to use the Mesaba Daily News.
I think we're using both right now.
Yeah,
I do
but
believe.
for our legal and for advertising of jobs and things like
Right.
that, they're published more frequently. So, yeah, we use both, correct?
And we'll continue to use
Yeah,
both.
yeah. But the legal publication would be the Mesaba Daily News.
Mesaba Tribune.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So we got a motion by Tim and
I'll support.
by Ms. Westby. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 5.8, consider authorizing the business manager and superintendent to make electronic fund transfers.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by
Polly and
John.
John, yep.
Okay, we got a motion by Polly and support by John. Any discussion on 5.8? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 5.9, consider authorizing the business manager to use the current signature plate until the new plate is secured if necessary.
So moved.
Support.
We got a motion by Director Sorkin, support by Director Lotiger. Any discussion? None being had. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. 5.10, consider authorizing school board members to attend necessary in-state meetings.
So moved.
Support.
Got a motion by John Yuhan, support by
Tim.
Director Reardon. Any discussion?
So how do we define necessary meetings? I mean, just take that word out of there.
Well, I mean,
Anybody abuses anything and
no, you're right. I mean, it's just a word. Necessary. I mean, if you had to go to like, what is necessary?
no, if not necessary, you don't go. Why is that in there, Noel?
Members of the board, yes, I can answer that question. Necessary, almost always when a board member goes to any type of in-state traveling, it's almost always an MSBA workshop. Phase 1, phase 2, there's an upcoming conference coming up. So some of you are going there. It's a great opportunity to hear about what your job is, what MSBA says. So that's really what most of it is. Occasionally, we'll get a request for mileage from another conference throughout the state, but generally, I would say 90% of what you do traveling in-state is going to some type of training via MSBA. Some of you might go to a conference on a variety of things, or sometimes that's almost always what it is.
Yeah, there are other ones.
Yeah, there's the MREA.
Yep.
MREA, MINSPRA, Minestra, there's Office of Administrative Hearings Data Practices. Those are all related to board work and board information and board education. So I don't think any of us would abuse any of those things to increase our knowledge and become better board members. So I don't know.
I mean,
Just the
Yeah.
word
so
necessary.
the word necessary,
What's it?
It might be,
I mean,
it might be nitpicking, but
I just say that, consider authorizing school board members to attend necessary in-state meetings. I mean, if it's,
it's not
I mean,
Well,
necessary.
necessary is subjective too.
right, it is subjective.
So I would just
I would,
change it to attend in-state meetings.
But you're running a $30 million plus business, so let's put it this way, you are not abusing this in any way whatsoever. I would say go to more of these and at conferences and workshops.
And who determines necessary anyway? I mean, who is going to determine that?
So I'll ask,
A motion if, to remove the word necessary.
Yeah.
That's fine.
okay, so we,
Or if you want it to come back to the board?
so-
I don't know.
so we got 5.10. We got a friendly amendment by Director Sorkin to remove the word necessary.
And I
And
agree.
it's support by Tim Reardon. So will okay, well, who made the motion originally?
Yuhan made the motion, I
Okay.
seconded it.
Would you accept that? Okay.
Yes, we both did.
Okay, so with the friendly amendment on 5.10, any more discussion? Okay.
Necessary's out.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So the word necessary will be removed from 5.10. 5.11, consider authorizing the superintendent to approve in-state travel requirements for employees during the school year.
So moved.
Motion by Director Yuhan,
Support.
support by Director Reardon.
Travel outside will still be approved by the board, it says.
Yep,
And,
okay.
exception will be scheduled athletic activities northwestern Wisconsin.
Okay. Any discussion on 5.11? With none being had, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 5.12, consider authorizing the superintendent to employ additional instructional, library, maintenance, and clerical assistants as shall become necessary.
So moved.
Motion by Director Reardon,
Support.
support by Director Yuhan. Any discussion? With none being had, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 5.13, consider resolution directing the administration to recommend recommendations for reductions in programs and positions and reasons therefore.
So moved.
Moved by Director Sorkin,
I support.
support
Go ahead.
by
Lisa.
Lisa. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by,
Resolution.
It's a resolution.
oh, okay, all right, very good, thank you. Okay. Director Yuhan,
Yes.
Director Sorkin.
Yes.
Yes. Do you have to say it?
Colbert Dahl.
Culver Dahl.
Yes.
Bill Addy's a yes. Tim Reardon.
Yes.
Randy Lager.
Yes.
Yes.
Westby, yes, okay. Motion passes unanimously. Okay. 5.14. Consider resolution naming Dr. Noel Schmidt as the identified official with authority for Rock Ridge Public Schools,
For Iowa, yeah.
Iowa.
So moved.
Support.
Support. Any discussion? In the roll, no discussion being had. Roll call vote. Director Yuhan.
Yes.
Director Sorkin.
Yes.
Director Colbert.
Yes.
Director Addy's a yes. Director Reardon.
Yes.
Director Lotiger.
Yes.
Director Westby.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. I know. Five 5.15, consider designation of Dr. Noel Schmidt to be the responsible authority under the Minnesota Data Practices Act and open meeting law.
So moved.
Support by Director,
To move support.
support by Director Sorkin. A motion by Director Sorkin, support by Director Colbert Dahl. Any discussion? With none being had, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 5.16, committee memberships. Okay, this is that sheet you have in front of you. If you look at the sheet, it is an old sheet. It's got 4 committee members on there. We are a board of 7 now. We cannot have 4. Okay? We have to have 3 with maybe an alternate. Okay? So you can take the board member 4 off of there and then fill in
Which ones you want?
which ones you want and
Email you.
email me or however you want to do it. You want to give it to me by paper or whatever. I will remain the city liaison for the city of Gilbert. I can, and I think Tim, no,
Yeah,
is it,
I was.
you was?
I was.
You were,
I was.
You was?
I was. That means
okay,
I'm not anymore.
okay. And for the city of,
He has done.
okay, well, I don't live in Evans, so it would be up to,
Put that in your request.
okay, so John, you on?
Yeah, I will if Tim doesn't want to.
Okay. Okay, so,
I'll just email you or give you that for the next meeting.
well, we'll just get it started.
That rec board, the bottom one is gone, isn't it?
Rec board is done.
That's done.
Yep, that's gone. Very good.
Email you by the next meeting though, Joe?
Yes, that'd be nice. That'd be
Before,
good.
before the next meeting, so
Yeah.
he can get it
Yep.
tabulated.
So the committee memberships, I guess you don't really need a motion or nothing, just.
No.
It's just a, okay. So number 6 is to adjourn the organizational meeting. Is there any questions before we adjourn in regards to anything?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion by Director Reardon to adjourn. Can I get support? Support by Director Lager. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I
Okay. Now,
jump right into the regular meeting.
go right into the regular meeting, but on here.
I thought it was in there about the
Okay.
allegiance
So we'll-
roll call,
So
so
we will adjourn and we will go back to the first page and we will,
The organizational one says roll call.
I know, yeah. So we're going to go back to first page, and we're going to start at 4. We're going to start at 4. Okay? Number 4, we're just going to start at 4, go to 5.
Why don't we just add them into this,
Okay?
Yeah.
All right, so,
rather than jumping around, sir?
okay. We can do that as well. So,
Call it to order, then roll call.
yeah, I call the regular meeting to order. Would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
6:33.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, you have 2 visitors.
I'll roll
Remember
call.
that?
Okay.
Okay. Now roll call.
Okay, we'll do a roll call here. Director Yuhan,
Yeah, here.
Sorkin,
Here.
Director Colbert Dahl.
Here.
Director Addy's here. Director
Here.
Reardon. Director Lotiger.
here,
And Director Westby.
Here.
Here, we have
All
full-
present.
all present.
And there were 7.
And now there was 7, yeah. Okay.
approval of agenda.
Number 8, approval of the agenda. Can I get a, Oh.
There's a couple changes in front of you. We passed out, not changes, an addition for Mike Oka. There's not exception to it, we would make that 46.
Consent agenda 46.
yep,
Is that, if that's consent agenda is okay. And then there is, I gotta find it,
it is 11.
1118. Isaac Christensen his name change should be BA plus 30 MA.
Been here a while, huh?
Yeah. And that's all the changes I have. So I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as
I'd
presented.
like to make some additions or deletions.
Okay,
I would like to delete 11, 21 through
hang on. 11 what?
21 through 32, and Mike Hoag's, all of those individual contracts. I think we need to have a special meeting with the full board, working session. I don't know that we could have a closed session for negotiation strategy, but even the fact that we got one contract today, we got an explanation, today at the table. I myself don't understand all of the reasons and all of the rationales, and certainly the new board members don't, and the other people who were not on the negotiating committee, the rationale and the reasons. And I do have a list, because I attended some of the meetings of what these individuals requested. I have no knowledge of how the negotiating team, which is only 2 of 3 or 4 left on the board, and what this is all about. So I don't know that I can agree, and without some further discussion and explanation, know that this is what we should do or not do. I made today I made just a quick spreadsheet out of the terms and the numbers and the figures, and there might be a concern about some of these, about
We're having discussion before we do it.
well, I think to have this all at the board meeting at one time and rush this through, they've been negotiating for months
Yeah.
and months and months.
Director Sorkin, so Director Sorkin has the motion on the table to remove 21 through 32.
And including wherever you put Mike Hoag's,
He was at 46,
well, wherever.
I'll support.
That's another one.
okay?
And that we have, the other part of that is that we have a special
Oh,
meeting.
don't I have to support it? Okay.
You want to remove it for further discussion? You want to table it or just,
Table it and have a special meeting of the full board on this, so we all understand what's going on here.
okay, any more discussion on that? We need to vote on that, correct?
We need to vote on it, correct?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
We voting on?
We're voting
To
on
remove-
removing all of those.
21 through 32 for
And to have a
further.
special meeting or like a meeting before the next meeting, kind of?
Yes.
Whenever, yeah.
Is there any consequence to that? I mean, no consequence to that.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
So it'd be a 5.
5-2.
Aye, so it'd be a 5-2. Okay, so 21 through 32 plus 46
Right.
are going to be removed. So you can scratch 46. Okay. So, is there any more discussion on the agenda?
I support it. I do apologize to those who are, wondering about their future employment.
So approval of the agenda. Any more discussion on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Whoop.
What's,
Consent agenda?
I made the motion, but nobody seconded it. Paulie took off.
oh,
Paulie removed those before there
So
was
we're
a
gonna-
second. No,
right? How does the board want to handle that? Do you want to withdraw your motion?
no, just get a second. We voted on what we
Okay.
were going to remove, and I will make the motion to the consent agenda as amended.
Okay, I will support that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, number 9, we have recognition of visitor input. Was told that we have 2 visitors. There'd be Mr. Walton and Mr.
Ramos.
Ramos, okay? Those are the only 2 that I know of that I was told. I don't know who is first. Who wants to go first? Tom, you want to go first? Sure. All righty. Yep.
Oh, 206 again. Last time I was here, I asked you a question. I didn't expect an answer at that meeting. I get one tonight? An answer?
What's the question? I know we're not
Well, we're not supposed
all right.
to. His question for the board at the last meeting is, why only 10? And what happens if there's
Right.
more than 10? Who determines that? And that policy has not yet been passed, so we don't know
Okay,
at this time.
that's correct.
How can you pass something if you don't know what it is?
Well, it hasn't, we haven't voted on that policy. So that's why we don't know.
Right. Well, I looked at the new one, 206, and it was a little confusing with all the red and a strike through. So I went back and I pulled the 206 from the final reading on June 28th. And under that, Roman numeral 6, section C, visitor input. The school board shall normally provide a specific period of time when persons may address the school board on agenda items only, subject to the limitations of this policy. If a person wishes to address a non-agenda item, a request must be submitted to the school board chair or superintendent in a timely manner and on an official form created by the district, period. Those are two separate statements, two separate mechanisms for visitor input. Now, I've heard for a long time, they're so confusing. I fail to see why that is confusing. It's two separate sentences, two separate mechanisms. What's all the confusion about? Is it about the, what is that, that guidelines thing that was put out? That was never adopted by the board, was it? Huh? Not that I recall. What about the paragraph above the form where you fill out the form? The only thing I recall being changed in there is the word "or," but that was never approved by the board either. So what is all the confusion? It's been misused many times where people have been denied to speak on an agenda item, told to fill out the form. That is not what your policy says.
I will speak to the board.
Tom?
I do believe.
Bill?
Yes.
You're-
Okay. I just will speak to the board that that policy was changed. It just hasn't been approved yet.
You know what?
Yep.
Let the man speak, please.
All right, okay.
But he's done
I'm not
his
denying
3
him to speak.
minutes is already up.
Question.
Interrupt him.
I missed the question.
He's giving you the full 3 minutes to speak
He already,
instead of taking up the time.
Well, again, my question is, what's the confusion? I think it's manufactured for some reason. It becomes a narrative. And then it becomes an excuse. But there is no confusion. It's quite simple. Now, to the one you have, oh, there's one other thing. The one I just read from, it says, may address the school board on agenda items only. Your new version doesn't read like that. So they don't match. What you should have done was left that in there and struck those words if that's what your intent was. So I don't believe this new version is valid.
Tom, your 3 minutes are up. Okay.
And for all the minutes you can,
Thank you, Tom.
and you can't give me any answer. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Up next, we have
John Ramos.
John Ramos.
Good evening, board members.
Alright.
I'm a reporter with the Duluth Monitor, and I am currently working on a story about members of the public who have been prevented from speaking to the Rockridge School Board. My investigation has revealed numerous problems with policy 206, which governs the public participation process. I come here tonight to address one of these problems, the requirement that people who wish to be heard by the board on non-agenda items must fill out an online form at least 24 hours prior to the meeting. I believe this requirement creates unnecessary obstacles for citizen input. There are many disadvantages to the online form. First, not everyone has access to the internet. especially in rural areas. Even for people with access, the internet experiences occasional outages. Thus, under policy 206, people without access to the internet are simply prohibited from speaking, period. This seems arbitrary and unfair. Second, the online form cannot be submitted unless the requester lists their address and phone number. This means that people who are homeless or without a phone are prevented from speaking. The form also censors people who would simply rather not put out their contact information on the internet. This seems unreasonable and pointless. Third, the policy can be easily manipulated to censor speech. If the board chair reports that a request was never received, whether this is true or not, the citizen is not allowed to speak. Likewise, if someone in the administration office were to delete the request or simply forward it along, a citizen's speaking privileges would be denied. I don't see any advantages to insisting that an online form be used. Does it improve the public process? Why is it even necessary? Why can't somebody simply call the board chair or the super and request to be added as a speaker? Why can't members of the public sign up at the meeting itself? In 24 years of reporting, I've attended many public meetings that go with the traditional sign-up sheet, and I haven't noticed any horrendous consequences. In short, the online form is an obstacle to citizen participation. Its only purpose, as far as I can tell, is to restrict speech. I urge you to eliminate this unnecessary requirement. Finally, I would encourage citizens who have been prevented from speaking to the Rockridge School Board to contact me through the Duluth Monitor website at duluthmonitor.com or at my personal phone number, 218-391-8791. I look forward to hearing from anyone who has concerns. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
All right. We are at
We should be at 10.
10. We are at 10 now. Construction.
We already did the consent agenda.
Yep. We're at 10. Who's up?
Carl Sanderson.
Carl Sanderson.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
So today what we will be doing here is we're just going to give an overview of the Orthopedic Associates project that's happening within this Rockridge administration building. Online, we have Josie Teskey with Cunningham. She will be going over the actual floor plan and design that will be happening right on the south side of the building. I just wanted to inform you that I will be the project manager. My name is Carl Sanderson. I work with you guys through some of the Rockridge Public Schools projects, and I will be the project manager if you have any questions about anything for this project. Main purpose, like I said, to go through the design, show you guys what's happening in your building. As a landlord, we feel it's really important to keep you guys informed. With that, I will hand it over to Josie.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for the opportunity to share the tenant space that is proposed in the Spectrum building. The Spectrum building, as you know, houses much of your administration offices and a practice wrestling area. The tenant space, as seen, is going to be, as Morgan mentioned, in the southwest corner of that building. The space is a 7,596 square foot tenant improvement space for Orthopedic Associates with a clinic portion as well as a physical therapy gym. It is within your existing fully sprinkled single-story building. There are existing walls, plumbing, electrical, and mechanical systems that will be removed so that new walls, new electrical, plumbing systems, and such can be made for the Orthopedic Associate program. So the left hand shows the overall building and its proposed location. On the right hand side is essentially the blow up the enlarged plan of Orthopedic Associates. One thing I'd like to note on the smaller plan is there's the primary entrance is at the south end. They have a small parking lot for some of their clients that will be there. And then the smaller dots, if you will, are essentially egress or exit only type doors that are required because of the size of this clinic. The clinic, as I mentioned, is comprised of a clinic space, which is essentially the bottom area. It has six, I'll take us through the vestibule, and then there will be card access, of course, into this environment. The card access is unlocked, if you will, during the daytime, and locked, of course, at night. Their guests, visitors, patients will be coming through the vestibule and then into their waiting area and reception area. There is actually a kiosk that one would check in at this location, and then there is seating for them to be able to wait. There's a public toilet facility for those that are waiting. And then there are 6 exam rooms, 2 of which, as you can see in the corners, are a bit larger and have a sink. This one in particular is intended for individuals that will need a cast, so there is plumbing required for that. So 6 exam rooms within this environment, processing rooms and storage rooms, staff break room at this point. In the center area, we essentially have dictation rooms for the doctors that will be able to quickly access those exam rooms. And again, a toilet facility for those that are in the exam environment and will not need to go back to the public toilet area. There is a scheduling office, again, very close and adjacent to those that are entering as well as exiting the clinic environment, and reception staff and work environment. One unique element within the clinic area is that there is an X-ray machine that will be here. There is lead-lined walls, doors, windows within that environment. The physicist has provided us information to properly identify what is required so that those that are outside of this environment are not affected by the X-ray machine that is working within. There is actually a corridor within the clinic environment that can connect one to what is then the gym. The gym is in this upper area. The gym is also has essentially treatment rooms, 3 treatment rooms, primarily physical therapy, occupational therapy. They have a workroom as well that will have storage as well as a sink that accommodates their needs. The 2 remaining white rooms, if you will, that are adjacent to your space, a mechanical room with equipment that will heat and cool the building that supplements the building mechanical, and then an electrical room and a server room specifically for Orthopedic Associates. I have a few more slides, but are there any questions before I move on?
No, I haven't any. Board have any questions?
No.
Continue.
So what you are seeing here are a couple renderings generated by a computer, so they're not entirely realistic. But the one that you will see, the first, is actually in the waiting area, and then looking back into the environment. There are a couple interior windows, an interior window that will look into the vestibule area, and there's another interior window that you can see just a little bit of there for the reception staff to observe those that are going in, walking in the corridor, able to assist them. So within this environment, of course, the meeting area, there's a proposed screen wall of wood that shields a bit of the access to the toilet room, and then the processing, or scheduling rather, office is shown here with the nurse station at the back corner. And then the second image is actually looking back from that nurse station to the waiting area. And you can see a wood decoration element as well. Any questions about this?
Nope.
I have one. Is the back corridor, is that access to then the admin building of Rockridge, or how does that work? Or
Any phone if you want. That is for egress purposes only.
For what purposes?
Egress.
Fire.
If there's a fire, people in that part of the building could exit from there. It's not planned to be used as an entrance. The main entrance is right on the kind of grade in the bottom space there.
So if someone used it, alarm would go off or that kind of thing? Or?
I don't know about the alarming if it would go off, but it's going to be a secured entrance.
Yeah, the doors that are, quote, at the top of this suite are a card access, so that appropriate individuals for orthopedic associates can access that long corridor and access the gym, but they are intended, as Morgan said, for emergency exiting purposes. There is also your public toilet, restroom elements here. They are accessible through a building corridor. We have within the tenant space 2 restrooms that are used, but staff members may actually exit into that corridor for use for those larger public facilities. And then the third view that we see, we are actually at the nurse station area in the back, and then looking toward the back area. Exam rooms on our right, dictation office on our left, accent wall color, if you will. I would anticipate that they will propose artwork as well, but the nurse station, as you can see, is open, proposed that one can traverse that environment pretty quickly side to side as well. And then the number 4 is again taking a look back at the reception space as well as the nurse station. So materials are proposed. Any questions about this? And then I'll show you the materials that are proposed for the environment.
Any board members have any questions?
Nope.
None.
Continue.
Materials that are proposed within this environment reflect essentially the environment that you all live in, natural, soft. A request from this client is that light and bright. And so many of the materials are reflecting in that lighter color palette as well. Serviceable, resisting some of the soiling, of course, on the flooring, but the upper materials are intended to be lighter and brighter.
If you guys don't have any questions, thank you for presenting. One thing that I do want to end on from my side of things is schedule. We're looking to get our contract out this week. So you might see some team members from the construction team showing up next week to begin demolition in that space. So looking to open up and finish this project. Orthopedic Associates can open up beginning of May. That's our timeline.
Wow,
Yes.
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we need approval?
No, that's just a design review.
Yeah, we don't need approval, correct?
No,
Okay.
I don't believe so. 10.2, North Star Elementary.
Members of the school board, I'm going to be up here only for a short period of time to frame what you are about to hear. The IRRR was extremely generous in giving us 4.7 million so we could finish North Star Elementary. So every time you see anyone from the IRRR, congratulate them, thank them for us, because this was very, very important for the community and for our future and current kids. So, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Worked
absolutely.
behind the scenes to make that possible. That was fantastic. So here we are, and now there's a process we'll have to go through with the money. We'll take care of that. And so with the money comes a decision. That's why you're here tonight, and that's what you're going to hear from Kraus Anderson. And I'm going to frame this in the context that a couple of years ago, I drove the board crazy and other people because you saw about 6 scenarios. Should we put the high schools together a little sooner? Should we start construction on North Star a little sooner? Or should we just stick to the original plan? Well, and I was very hard on some individuals because 6 is a lot of different options. But arising out of that, the board did make a decision, and the board did tell us to accelerate construction on North Star by 1 year. That was one of the best decisions the board made in a long time, because had that board not made that decision, right now, North Star construction would not have begun. Roosevelt would still be standing, and we would have, because of COVID inflation, probably another couple $1 million problem to solve that we could not solve tonight. That was a good decision, but it involved the board taking a look at some scenarios. So we're going to do the same thing again, except this time it's only 2. So what Kraus Anderson is going to show you is, and we're not asking you to make a decision tonight. We're just asking you to think about it. Talk to people, think about it. And I believe Mr. Manny is in the background. If you have any questions for the North Star principal, he's here to answer any questions. Here's the basic choice. Okay, we have 4.7 million, and we made it very clear with the IRRR, we were spending that on North Star. So one of the scenarios you're going to see is, okay, let's finish the building as designed, the shell, everything, roof, everything, walls, everything, windows, everything, technology on the wall, and put new furniture in the building, put a playground out front. That's option number 1. Virginia High School is still standing. Option number 2 for you to take a look at is we finish North Star Elementary, walls, ceiling, roof, technology on the walls, all of that, but we don't bring in new furniture. We simply bring in some of our older furniture and we put it in there, and the money we would have spent on furniture, we tear down Virginia High School. Why would we even consider that? Here's why, or why you might consider that. There's no grass at North Star Elementary. It is so tight that the kids, Virginia High School is standing, and we put new furniture in North Star, which we can do, build it, finish the building, we're good. Except there's just no grass, or very little grass, because Virginia High School on the original design, that was supposed to be a redesigned grass field. There were some slopes, there were some contours, there was open grass, there was a bunch of play equipment there for the kids at North Star Elementary. Laurentian kids have that because we have different issues. We had different issues at Laurentian. So option 2, or one of the options, is build North Star, but don't, for now, hold on, don't put new furniture in there. Use the money to take down Virginia High School, and then we grass the field and maybe put a fence around it, maybe put a hill so kids can go sliding up and down. And if in the future we get additional monies, then we can look at the furniture at North Star. So this is what we're bringing to you, and Krause Anderson on this step to the side is going to show you in detail what that would mean, and you're just thinking about it to take a look at this for your consideration. I'm going to stop and pause. Any questions about the gist of the situation?
I'm just wondering, when you say new furniture, what do you, like everything, or what does that mean? What does that entail?
Excellent question. When we put furniture into Laurentian and the new high school, some of what you saw, we went in there thinking we're going to put 80% new furniture, but we were going to bring 20% of our old furniture with us, the best of the old furniture. And you've seen different presentations over time. I think this was prior to your time, Director Culver. So we were thinking 20%. So even the new buildings have some older furniture in it. So if you decide not to put in new furniture in, the new North Star, it would literally be 100% current furniture we have, because we would need to spend all of that money to take Virginia High School down and then seed it over and put grass there. So there'd be, now, that said, down the road, we have two other additional political solutions that we're going to try, and there's one of them is on your agenda later on, so we still have two options. We still might get some money, but we don't have it. And so if we're going to do something with Virginia High School, because we're tearing down the annex, it's going to be cheaper, if that's the option you choose, to do the annex at Virginia High School at the same time. Doesn't mean you have to, but it's cheaper for you and the taxpayers. All right, before I leave the stage, any questions on the basic?
So the $1.4 million for demo, is that just demo, or is that site preparation? I mean, is that just to take it down and haul it away, or does that include any site preparation?
They're going to cover it.
Okay, very good.
Just one correction, Dr. Schmidt. We had the numbers the other way around. So the first one is demo, and number 2 is the.
Yeah.
So, but you still have two options.
You said it right, we're wrong.
No, you said it right, I'm wrong.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Schmidt. Hello again. It's been a little while.
Yeah.
Haven't seen you. Hope you all had a good holiday season. You all made it through, so that's good. Made it through the snowstorms. So as Dr. Schmidt so graciously got me started here to talk about the 2 courses of action that we dreamed up for you guys to review and look at and make a decision. I think it was the next board meeting on the 23rd. So the first thing, and that's what I handed out to you, there was an added slide for this background of the budget. So it's previous information that we shared with you. It was just a refresher of how we got to where we're at today. So that's what you got handed out to you. And then we will hit the 2 courses of action. As Dr. Schmidt mentioned, it's the demo of the VHS and the site restoration. So what that means with that 1.4 million, that's the demo and backfill, but that's it. Then there's a separate line for site restoration. And then I'll get into more detail on the site restoration. Okay. Course of action number 2 is the FF&E, so that's the purchase new furniture and no demo. Sense? And you did touch on this as well, Dr. Schmidt, thank you. Both of these courses of action will get you the North Star building as designed. So there won't be any cuts to the building. Does that make sense? All right. Any questions and discussion that you want at the end? And we'll go from there. All right, so background of the budget. Previously, we had shown you this list for the 7.2 million of COVID state funding. And so at that time, we had to take these line items out of the project to come within budget. right? So we had to take out the FF&E, we had to take out the contingency, reduce general conditions, and so on and so forth. So now, what we're showing is with the IRRB money, and thank you IRRB for doing that, that was very wonderful. That's going to be added into the project so a lot of these things can come back. Now you'll notice that there's still a misalignment at the bottom, and that's where Dr. Schmidt was mentioning going after some other funds, different routes, because you still don't have all of the money. And that's why we're going through these courses of action, because you have only a certain pot of money to use, so we'll need to decide what to use it for. Any questions on that? Make sense? So let's get into the nitty-gritty courses of action. Number one, demoing the Virginia High School, or as some people refer to as the tech building, and then the site restoration. So kind of similar format you'll see on all of these, right? It is the 4.7 million from the IRRR. And the biggest one here is the demo of the 1.4. And I'll skip down to the site restoration. So that's your seating, sliding hill, fence, that kind of thing. And I'll give you a little sneak peek of what we put together so far. Not final design, but something to look forward to. The other big one here is the no FF&E, so we would use existing furniture, as Dr. Schmidt mentioned. Okay, so that's the biggest difference between these two. Then also, hence the budget background there, is we needed to replenish the contingency and replenish the general conditions in order to finish the project, right? Because we reduced those to let out our contracts for all the contractors to start work, order materials, and get rolling with construction. So that's the biggest point there, is now that we have the money, we need to replenish that so that we can finish the project. Okay, so that's the dollars and cents of course of action number one. And the site plan update. So a little refresher again, the original design is on your left, okay? That was at bid time, so that was the original site design during bidding. So we had a couple playground areas, and Dr. Schmidt kind of hit on it. There was some landscaping, some different contours, a sliding hill, some more site concrete, some neat paths and trees and all that kind of stuff, right? Really elaborate site. So value engineering had to take place, and that to get within budget. So we decided to leave the Virginia High School for now. That was part of the value engineering process to get money to finish North Star. But then still remove the Malone Annex so we could still finish the south end of the site here and get those playground areas in the site plan. So with that building standing there, the word condemned is the important word there, right? Because as we remove the Malone and Annex, you lose your ADA access to that building. You also lose power, which in turn you lose heat, which in turn you lose water. So that's the biggest thing, is when Malone Annex gets removed and that building is standing, it's going to be condemned essentially and boarded up, and it's just going to stay there. Make sense? All right, now the fun part. So, revised site plan. This is a sneak peek. The design isn't final yet. Worked with the district on coming up with final features and tweaks and stuff like that if you guys decide to go with this course of action. So with that building gone, you get a large seated play area, so grass, and throw the sliding hill in there so the kids have a place to play in the winter. A nice decorative fence with some site lighting around the perimeter for site security and safety for the kids as well. And then the other thing I want to point out is the playgrounds don't change. They stay the same. And everything from the north of 3rd Street essentially stays the same. So the building gets built per design. Everything to that north stays the same. The building comes down and a site restoration. Cool stuff. Any questions on course of action number 1 before I go to number 2? All right. Course of action number 2, on the funding side of things, again, the 4.7 from the IRRR. And here we have $0 for demo. And we have the FF&E with a budget in it, 1.8. And that's the purchase. I had the word all in there, but it was meant to be the 80%, 80-20, possibly all, depending on how that comes out. So there was an additional 500,000 FF&E contingency put into this number. If you notice on the previous background budget was 1.3, because we don't know where that furniture budget is going to land right now. And Mr. Scott Manny is working with Cunningham in the background with his user group and going through that process still. So they're choosing things and getting everything lined up, and it's going to go out for pricing here this month, actually, by the end of the month. So then we'll actually know what that budget is. Okay. Again, replenishing the contingency and general conditions, that's the same. And then no site restoration, obviously no building down, you don't need to restore the site. And then the playgrounds are still in there. And again, just no demo, no site restoration, and you get your furniture, all new furniture. So what your site will look like with option 2 is the current plan right now, with the building standing, being a condemned building with no ADA access, no power, no heat, no water. So that will be the final site plan.
We have, you know, come fall, Pete, you know, we're gonna have another vacant building. Evelyn, and in Virginia. That makes a total of 3 vacant buildings in 3 separate towns. Okay, when you talk about condemned, no heat, no water, hoping that we can repurpose some of these buildings to somebody who wants to repurpose them. I understand the importance of the Virginia building. Okay, but with these buildings standing in Gilbert and one's going to be standing in Evelyn, they become a huge liability. So I just want to, you know, let this board know that, you know, yeah, I want to see this North Star get built, but I would like to see a portion of that infusion of money that we got from the IRRB tear down more parts of Gilbert if nobody's interested in it. We got people looking at it, but there ain't nobody buying it. There ain't nobody interested in it. And we have to run that by the city of Gilbert. So, but this building in Virginia ain't going to get tore down till what? Next fall, maybe into the winter, if not the spring.
If you were to choose course of action 1 and tear down this building, that would happen in this fall, 2023. We'd start in the summer with the Malone Annex and just keep going. So as Dr. Schmidt mentioned, if you decide to demo both sections, you don't have to do the sever and separation part between the buildings because you just keep going from north to south. So that's where the cheaper comes in.
I don't know what the board thinks. I mean,
We have an abatement piece in that as well, so in spring, we will start abatement in the spring right after we vacate the building and just keep going through all those facilities as well, all 3 buildings.
Do we have an average age of the FF&E that we have currently? I mean, it's not original to the building, I'm assuming. If we were to use existing stuff?
We have, yes, we have stuff that by most would be considered decent. It's not new. I would say anywhere from 5 to 20 years old is furniture that we would bring into the building.
Sorry, what was that, 5 to what?
5 to 40 years old. Now, the idea would be that, this is my dream, is that we do well politically this spring, and we're still able to do a lot of what we originally wanted to do years ago. Get new furniture into North Star. Do the field on North Star the way it was designed. Take care of Gilbert buildings. Take care of Evelyn buildings. That's still what I'm targeting for and thinking for. The sequence is just happening a little off here. Because of what we have to do in the political process. And then just so you know, this is why we're not asking you to make a decision, is that I believe that the odds are high that you're going to have a group come and talk to you about the Gilbert building. And that is going to happen in the next 2 weeks. It's simply a work study session. I'll let you know about it. We're trying to arrange this for them to come up. They have some ideas about it. So we do have probably the best one I've heard about the Gilbert building. We have a lot of people kicking tires, talking about the building. We really have very little follow through, but this one is different. So I believe you're going to be approached by a group to talk about the Gilbert facility, but I get it, Director Addy. So I still am looking for a way to take care of all of this, and we can take care of the way it was originally intended and designed.
And wasn't the discussion around the IRRB funding that we received, the 4.7 million, wasn't the discussion that that was going to be earmarked for the North Star Elementary? So putting that funding, taking that funding for what was intended for the North Star Elementary building, the demolition, the, you know, part of Gilbert, that wasn't what the money was intended for. That's not what the IRRB thought the money would be used towards. Okay.
Good point.
Can I ask a question too of Scott?
Yes.
Manny? So I'm gonna venture a guess here, but I'm assuming that staff would really appreciate some green space.
Just so you know, kind of our planning stages, we're meeting as a staff on Wednesday. I have an hour and a half dedicated, and we're gonna come to you as one voice.
Come on up here.
Oh, I can come up here.
So you can be famous.
Oh, that's what I always wanted.
Right on in here.
We're meeting this Wednesday. We're gonna be spending significant time on this issue, and we're gonna come to you unified with our recommendation. I don't know what that is yet, but that's what we're gonna work out as a staff, and we'd like to bring it to the board with several of our teachers and staff members and say, this is what we would like as a North Star family.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Do you think the teachers would, and this is just arbitrary, like to go back to the old Roosevelt with the blacktop playground, or do they really like the green space that is at the Franklin site?
We will come to you with our, we'll tell you though, we will have a sliding hill. That's my only one that's been absolutely amazing, and we have to have something like that for our students here in northern Minnesota. But yeah, we as a staff will come to you unified with what we would propose.
Boy, he sidestepped pretty good, doesn't he?
Spider. I'm learning.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No. Good.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Any more questions for us?
I don't.
I do not.
Thank you.
See you on the 23rd.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving along. The consent agenda.
No, we did
Oh,
that.
Okay, all right.
We're on 12.
Oh,
Report.
We should have.
hang on,
We should have.
hang on.
We should have had.
Wait, you're really. 12? Ooh,
Yep,
Yeah.
12. On audit report presentation.
Okay, 12 is reports. We need the 12.1, the audit report presentation from Greg Knutson from Walker, Giroux, and Hani. Greg?
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Board members, everybody else. A lot going on already, I can tell we're here just listening, but I'm going to present the audit for the Rockridge School District for June 30th, 2022. And that was just completed right before the end of the year, which is the deadline. And this is the second full year of the Rockridge School District. First year was 2021. Before that, it was the two separate school districts. So this is the second full year of the consolidated school district. I don't know if there's a handout, but I did present like a 27-page report. I'm just going to hit some of the highlights to it. So
We do have it on.
Yeah.
you have,
access to
okay.
it, yeah.
So the cover page, on page 1, talks about the opinion of the audit. And it says, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above are presented fairly in all material respects, the respective financial position of the government activities. Each major fund and the aggregate remaining fund information of ISD 2909 Rockridge as of June 30th, 2022, and the changes thereof. And so that's what you have there is an unmodified, unqualified opinion, and it's the best opinion you can get. And prior year, we didn't have that because we were, the school district needed an actuarial for the OPEB. And now with a combined district and for 2909, we do have a complete actuarial up to date as required through general accepted accounting principles. So we're able to audit that. And that ended up actually being, as I'll get to it, a positive thing. It actually shows not only your unqualified and unmodified opinion that the overall net assets of the for the OPEB increased. So it was a win-win type thing. So I'm going to turn to the page numbers I'm talking about are on the lower right. On page 3, you talk December 28th, 2022, and that's the opinion. So we did meet the December 31st deadline. Page 4 and 5 is just a snapshot of the management discussion analysis part of the audit. It was actually page 5 through 12 of the audit, and you're certainly welcome to do that, but that's the input from the school board and the business office. Contacting Spencer with that. Moving on to the financial part of it, page 6 has the net position, which includes all accrual entries, undepreciated capital assets, long-term debt. So you can see that the amount on the bottom line went from a net position of 17 million up to just short of 28 million. And one of the ones even to talk about how then net OPEB asset, this is about, right in the assets that where it says 4.4 million, it was, prior audit was 1,446,719. And we also have the net investment of capital assets, which is net investment, net of related debt, went from 42 million to 60 million. A lot of that has to do, of course, with your construction in progress and your projects that you've been going through. Page 7 talks about the changes. It went from 17 million to 27 million. So your change in net position, which is the second to last column, went increased by 7.5 million, 7,429,000, and a restatement of 3,280,000, that had to do with the new OPEB actuarial. So with that actuarial, which got rid of the qualified opinion that we would have had in last year's audit, your net OPEB asset actually increased by and related deferred inflow and outflows by 3.2 million. Now we're going to get to the funds, the real meat and potatoes of the whole thing. The fund balance went from 129,000 bottom line to just under 59,000. And the main reason for that is your construction projects. So this is the modified accrual basis, which basically is cash plus 60 days, which is your budgetary, follows your budget cycle. You can see it's 9.8 million in the general fund, 639,000 debt service fund, 47 million in the capital projects. In the other fund, 745,000. If you turn to page 9, it's 559,000 in the food service, 186,000 in the community service fund. And page 10 and 11 will show changes of that. So while your general fund overall went down by 1.7 million, before the transfer out of 3,185,000 to the community service fund, the general fund actually had excess of revenue for expenditures of 1,484,000. Debt service fund balance went by 373. Your big reduction had to do with your construction project, where you had $76,000 in interest, but you had 72,000 of capital outlay in your capital projects funds. And we all know what that's about, as the previous speaker was talking about and related to the projects. But you did have a transfer out of the general fund to $3 million to the capital projects fund to help fund those projects. And this year, as you look away on the right column, you'll have comparison purposes, and I was telling about that last year. We didn't have that because you had the two districts versus the one. From now on, it'll just be the ISD 2909, and they'll be comparative type of things. The other funds, the general food service fund went up by 177,000. A lot of that had to do with your federal sources and your grants, and this was COVID-related projects where they funded a lot, and I think a lot of your students ended up getting, for last year, meals that was all funded for them. I don't know if anybody even had to pay for any fees for your lunches and breakfasts. And community service fund, the fund balance went down by 72,000 even after a transfer in of 185,000. Page 12 has the budgetary of the general fund. Basically budgeted to break even, 14,115, which is the excess for the bottom line on the second column. The middle column is the actual amounts. So you actually got 1.7 million more than you budgeted in revenues, but you spent 291,000 more budget in expenditures, and you didn't budget for the transfer out. So deficit of 1,715,000 is compared to the budget, which is the second to last column. Last column, again, as I mentioned before, had to do with comparison with prior years. Gets us to the fiduciary funds. Turn to page 14. Your scholarships went from 199,000 to 190,000. You had $14,000 scholared, and you only had gifts and interest of 4,400. Thus a reduction of about 9,600. And I think because you're fully funded in your OPEB, you're starting to draw money out of your OPEB irrevocable trust fund. You know, interest of 175,000, but benefits of about 400,000, admin of 500. So that fund, OPEB irrevocable trust, went from 13 million to 12,844,000. It's still a lot of money in there for funding your OPEB benefits. And I'll get to where that OPEB benefits are in the notes. Page 15 shows your schedule of federal awards. And this is the most that I remember any school districts that I audit getting. Just a lot of it had to do with COVID. So 5.8 million of federal dollars had to be audited as a single audit by us for compliance. You can see 1,512,000 had to do with food service, and just under 3 million for the 84,425, which is the elementary and secondary COVID money and equal education stabilization figures. So that was quite a bit money for federal for a district of this size.
So, excuse me, these are the expenditures. What are the revenues?
Revenues equal expenditures for
this?
For federal awards, for grants.
So we spent it all? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you had to, and you couldn't get a reimbursement until you spent it.
Okay.
So this is expenditures, but also agrees the revenues. So just page 15, you have 5,856,000. And if you turn to the revenues on page 10, revenues from federal sources, 5,856,987. They agree right to that. Point that out. How everything flows.
Stay on that page for a second.
Page 10?
Page 10, yeah.
Yes.
So in the other financing sources, uses transfers in, but the transfers out, you said that was for capital projects. Was that general fund money used for capital projects, or is that money that we got for the bonding projects?
That's general fund money transferred out.
Okay, general fund.
3 million and then 185,000 into the community service fund.
Wait, no, I want to see where that number is, 185 to, That's other governmental funds, that's.
Yeah, if you turn to the next page, you can see it went to the community service fund.
Okay, so we just don't actually know what that 3.2 million was used for out of our general fund for capital projects, huh?
It was used for capital projects.
I know, but which capital projects? I know you don't, you might not know, but that's a question I have,
Okay.
okay? And
Everything on page 10?
net change about 1.7 less in the fund balance from 2021.
Right.
So I'm looking, what numbers do we compare? The last two columns?
If you want to compare,
Two do we subtract here to get the 1.7?
you compare, you take the 1,484,000 excess of revenue over expenditures.
Wait.
You subtract that, transfer out to 3,185,000 to get to 1,700,000. So it's the 1,484,000.
Okay,
These are all good questions, so I do appreciate this.
I believe that Spencer could answer those questions,
Yeah,
if he was here.
he could.
So,
As far as some of that detail to it, yeah.
right.
okay.
And, yeah.
I believe that might be the Laurentian money that originally came from the Evelyn Gilbert School Board.
I think I saw that separate columns, though.
Yeah, there was a committed amount in
Yes.
there, and there's still a committed amount in the general fund
2 point,
for the remaining construction that hasn't been uncommitted because the project is still in.
I think I saw the 2.5, the Virginia money is still in there for committed or undesignated or something.
Right, committed 2,500,000, and originally was 3 million committed, if you look at last year's audit. Yeah, because you can see, going back to page 8, million committed 2,500,000, and it's 5.5 in the prior year, which is the 3 million and the 2,500,000. So that's the 3 million that was committed in the prior audit, and that was uncommitted and spent for the projects you had.
Yeah, I think that was the Virginia money that was put in, right? Because we spent the Evelyn Gilbert 3 million.
Right.
Okay, all right.
And we'll bring Spencer back, members of the board, to answer your questions. He's got a basketball game tonight.
Yeah, he said I was gonna be on my own, so he wanted me. But he's got a great staff, and what he does is great, so I'm able to follow through most things, and he's able to answer everything, so. Okay. Turning to page 17, have no restricted assets, page of the net assets, 54 million. Restricted assets are restricted for bond agreements, legal contractual requirements, and their use. And it's consists of 3.7 million in cash and 51 million in investments, so a total of 54 million. And that number shows up on page 6, 54, just short of 55 million in restricted assets, cash investments. And turning to page 18, here's your capital assets with depreciation and construction. So you started the year with 97,581,000. You got an net increase of just under 70 million, and 71,233,000 was additional construction in progress and then additional equipment of 221. And you had depreciation of existing of 1,844,000. And you did have some deletions of existing buildings and equipment that some were fully depreciated on some of the estimated, especially the buildings of 116, but it gives you the ending of 164,000 of undepreciated capital assets, which is, that number shows up on the front page. And long-term debt, which is bonds and unamortized bond premiums, started the year at 180 million of long-term debt. At, about 6 million in principal and 540,000 or so, even more than that, over 600,000 of bond premiums is amortized, which goes against interest expense, giving you 173,000 of long-term debt. 5,916,000 is due within a year. And the schedule down below gives 5 years of your principal and interest that is due on the long-term debt of the Rockridge School Districts, and then 5-year increments of the last 15 years are grouped to get you the total of 161,000 of principal and 57,000 of interest. Page 20, get back to your OPEB. You see that we actually, on the left column, brackets actually means net OPEB assets, which is counterintuitive to anything else you do in accounting, but we assume you're going to have a net OPEB liability. So you started the year with a net asset of 1,446,000. You had the restatement because of actuary of 2.7 million to bring you to 4,176,000, and that increased by 285,000, which is basically contribution and benefit payments over the interest and service cost. It's all actuarial based, but where you started the year as 1,446,000. The net asset you end the year is 4,462,000. So that's definitely trending in the right way. Page 21 has to do with your net fund, your fund balance at year end, general fund, debt service, capital projects, non-major fund, service, and community service. We have 58,000 in non-spendable, which is in inventory. 53,377,947 restricted, going across. A lot of that is restricted in capital projects for continued building construction projects. And there's our committed 2,500,000 for Rockridge High School construction, and unassigned bottom line 3,082,000. So you end up getting what makes up your ending 59 million fund balances.
So could I interrupt again? The unassigned, that's just the 3.038 million. That's what we have to use for any purpose.
That ends up being sort of the bottom line.
Right.
And it's always in the general fund unless it's negative. Then it could be a negative unassigned. So that basically is when you do the audit, that's the bottom line fund balance, which doesn't include, like I said before, undepreciated capital assets or long-term debt. It has to do with the budgetary cycle of what you budget for, what the school board budgets for the year, which is basically 1 year plus 60 days of payables, and grants are recognized. So basically that's your meat and potatoes of your fund balances up front. And that's traditionally what all districts and any governmental units use as their budgetary cycle, and so basically the bottom line.
What page do we find? I thought on this page we would see what the previous year was.
Okay.
What page do we go back to see what last year's was?
You would see that on page 8. All government response. We have 3,038,000, and last year was 2.5 million.
Okay, gotcha.
And those are all very good questions. Because I know these numbers pretty good, and
Yes, it's hard.
haven't got the audit out and all that stuff, but sometimes it can be a little confusing what goes where and everything. Page 22 talks about construction commitments, where total budget to construction was 185,000, and you spent to date 131,567,000. So your commitment to your difference is about 54,000 on projects. Quick snapshot of that. Now we're moving on to the finding and question counts. So the federal special ed cluster, which is 84,027, 84,173, was a major program, and your COVID-19 ESSER funds was also major funds. We actually have a difference. Another positive thing to say, you have a material weakness, which I'll get to, but you don't have a significant deficiency identified in prior audits, because everything we give you for segregation of duties. Now, the way the duties have been restructured between the two school districts and having it here, we no longer consider that a significant deficiency. And I just talked to Spencer today about, I'll talk about this lack of control over financial reporting on page 24. As part of the audit, manager requested the auditor prepare a draft of the district's financial, including the related notes. Manager reviewed, approve, and accept responsibilities prior to the issuance. However, management does not possess the technical expertise to comply with the government accounting reporting standards. The potential effects for a material difference goes on. And this finding has to do with preparing the audit. I want to talk with Spencer and his staff to do what they can to get rid of this finding, which basically would be understand, a lot of it has to do with the notes and everything. All the financial numbers comes from the district. We audit it, we don't make up these numbers. It all comes from the district, and we audit, say they're fairly stated. So it's just a matter of him doing a little bit extra work with the financial notes, which is, if you look at any of the reports, the company notes are an integral part of the financial statements. So you have the financial statements, and you have the pages of notes. So just a matter of him taking responsibility. He does take responsibility, but just doing a little bit more to get rid of that finding 2201. And I think that's is a goal by year ended 6/30/23. So page 25, you actually see the corrective action plan. Management costs and training involved, review and prepare the statements exceeds the benefits resulted is ongoing. But I think some procedures can be done in order to eliminate that finding. And now we're getting to the end. Thank God. Got the management letter, which is the findings that are neither material findings or significant deficiencies. Number 1 on the bottom of page 26, there is outstanding checks dated over a year old on the bank reconciliations. We suggest the district review these checks to determine whether they should be reissued or turned over to the state as unclaimed property. And that actually is Minnesota state compliance requirement. And the other thing is because there's so much increase in donations, and the district is keeping track, but I think they could have a sheet and do a little bit better to keep track of what donations are coming in and what are and where it goes and what it's used for. Just to have something. So we say there's increase in donations, as everybody knows. We suggest the district develop controls and procedures to track all the donations. And any other questions?
Yeah, back to page 4, right-hand corner, and then I remember.
Page 4.
Yeah, your bullet, your arrow number 4, I think you just explained to me and everyone that the difference in the general fund was because we transferred over 3 million into capital projects. But when reading the full report, there was something else, maybe you know exactly where it is. It was that transfer of capital funds, and it was something about administration was a little bit high or something. And those were 2 things that were pointed out somewhere else.
I think that was in the management discussion analysis. And really, the management discussion analysis is management's discussion analysis. I don't have anything to do with that part.
Well, yeah, but
I think I know what you're talking about.
And then there was something else about student support services or something. There was a big discrepancy or some kind of services for students.
And you're getting this from the audit, aren't you?
Yep. Big one, but this one is. I'm just asking this to be pointed out because I think all of us, it'd be good information for us to know maybe where to make some adjustments in next year's budget. We certainly don't want to skimp on services for students or general education. Or maybe it's.
So I think I'm going to read the paragraph which you're referring to. And it's a financial analysis of district funds. It's from page 9 of the hard copy of the audit. I think the general fund. The general fund reported decrease in fund balance of $1,700,000. Revenue in the general fund increased from $36,000 to $38,000. That's comparing to the prior year, while expenditures increased from $34,391,000 to $36,341,418. The district received more grants related to COVID-19 in the current year than in the previous year. Increases in admin and regular instruction expenditures were the primary cause of the increase in expenditures. An increase in local property tax levy revenues and revenues from federal services with the major contributors to the increase in revenue. So what that's doing is comparing prior year revenues expenditures in the general fund to the current year. Is that what you're referring to, maybe?
Yeah, it is, and then, but then there's some graph too that kind of itemizes out things and between budgeted and what we actually spent or whatever on some kind of student services. But we'll ask Spencer about that.
Yeah, and if he has any other questions, we'll just talk about specifically, but yeah, these, none of the numbers do come from the overall financials information, but especially the part about budgeting and economic factors in next year's budget all comes from, that information came from district officials and Spencer's.
And that could be on your page 12 too, or
Yeah,
And it's
page 12 talks about
budget.
contact to the district's financial manager.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, any
Thank you.
any questions for Greg? Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Kudos to 5 or 10 minutes, Spencer. I'm sure I went over that.
And kudos to
You do what you got to do. Thank you.
Yeah, kudos to the business office as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They did a great job, and they're able to get a lot of stuff right to our office and box, and we did what we had to do here, but it's definitely a coordinated effort to get the audit done.
for sure.
Is that something that we have to, Noel, we have to approve the audit? Or it just is, because it just says it's just a presentation?
This is just the presentation right now.
All right, very good.
We'll bring Spencer back.
Okay. So up next is Todd Grippentrog with the EGS Principals Report.
Well, good evening, members of the board. Welcome to the new board and new members of the Rockridge School Board. It's happy to see you all here this evening. I just want to say, wow, I can't believe we're just 2 weeks away from the end of the first semester, halfway through the school year. Got a lot of exciting things going on at the high school in Evelyn. Registration for next year is right around the corner. As you know, that'll give us the time we need to get our students scheduled in the new Rockridge High School this spring. It's a formidable task, but I think we are equal to the challenge, so I'm excited about that. A couple of things going on at the school. We've got one activity that's going on after school on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. Our chess club runs with Mr. Berry, and I've noticed he's got a great turnout there. So if you ever want to come by and take on Mr. Berry for a can of Mountain Dew, chess game, swing on by after school and see they're in the commons at the high school. Winter activities are in full swing. The athletics are, check out our website to see the schedules that are coming. There's something going on just about every night. So take a look at that. I want to just say that extracurriculars to me and our community are important. They're an important part of our Rockridge. It provides our students with opportunities for competition, camaraderie, and leadership along with their extracurricular activities. So those things for myself stayed with me for a lifetime, and I think they stay with our students for a lifetime. So activity is very important going on. After school homework help is available at the high school on Tuesdays and Thursdays. One of our staff members, Mrs. Kemp, runs that after school for any students who want to come and get extra help in tutoring. I do want to mention that she does have some help from some other teachers that just stay on a voluntary basis, and we're helping out those kids get their homework done and get a little extra tutoring. So we really appreciate her help on that. Next item is Snow Week, believe it or not. That's coming up February 6th. So just here we'll be looking at Snow Week. Details are not yet laid, but the student councils on both campuses in Virginia and Evelyn are working together to plan some wonderful activities. So we're excited about Snow Week coming up. Next item I want to talk about is thanking Mike Hogue and the custodial staff. I just want to thank them for taking care of us at the Evlith campus. Thank you, Mike. And I just want you to know the amount of snow and the timing of it all that came this year was just incredible to get navigated. So I appreciate they did a great job. In fact, they're still catching up, trying to remove some snow around. But I do want to mention the 10-day forecast. There's minimal amounts of snow coming, so we're excited about that.
Right.
Oh, they're usually 50% wrong.
We're hopeful.
Record.
And mild so far, I think, overall. So anyway, I wanted to thank the board, the previous board, and most of you who were on the board that approved our courses for Rockridge High School next year. I really want to thank you for doing that. I want to talk about specifically one course that's being planned and discussed specifically this month, the My Futures courses that we're talking about for 7th and 8th graders. I'm super excited about it. And to my knowledge, our school is going to be an innovator in this area. This course will continue some of the work that students start in elementary school. It will have a focus on careers, leadership, and preparing students academically for high school, the academies. So we're super excited about it. We have this great opportunity to have our academies high school 7 through 12. It's awesome. So I'm excited about it. Thank you, board, for approving those. Moving plans are being made as we transition the two high schools together and into Rockridge High School. There's a meeting, in fact, Wednesday coming up to begin that process. We have actually pushed teachers into the process as well, so we're kind of excited about that. And with that, I just want to thank you all for your time and efforts today and being on the school board, and happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions for Todd? Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Todd. Thanks, Todd.
Up next, 12.3, Superintendent. The rough draft equity plan for the district's strategic plan.
Thank you, Director Addy and members of the school board. The equity plan, this is a new thing for the year. However, I must say that this is very common in schools all across the United States. So this is not unique to school districts anywhere. This is very common. It's unique to this area because it has not been part of the strategic plan. So tonight, not asking you to make any decisions. This is just for you to look at. And then I want to talk one or two of you into joining us next Wednesday for a meeting at 5 to 7 o'clock that we're having with some folks to continue looking at the plan. This is a rough draft. First of all, what is equity? And I'm going to go there right away because I know this has been somewhat of a topic of conversation. Equity is a common term. The state of Minnesota, MDE, uses the term equity. For example, we benefited significantly from the state of Minnesota's equity program. Here's what equity means. It does not mean everybody ends up getting the exact same thing. That is not what equity is. Equity is, and the state of Minnesota does it this way. For example, and we were a huge beneficiary of this. When we do building projects, any district does building projects, some districts have more money than others. By the state of Minnesota's definition, this is a poorer area compared to, like, I'm going to compare this area to Edina, which is just a more affluent area. So it's easier for a district like Edina to raise money to build buildings than it is here. So the Minnesota has an equity plan. That's exactly what they call it, because they realize that it's more difficult for taxpayers here to raise money. So when we pass a bond like we did in 2019, we receive more money from the state of Minnesota because we were considered a poorer area. That's equity, meaning it's not equal for our kids and Edina's kids it's not the same thing as far as raising money. So the state of Minnesota helps the poorer districts like us. And this helped our taxpayers incredibly. And we save millions of dollars because of the state of Minnesota chipped in. That's what equity is. It just means giving everybody an equal chance, and sometimes you help somebody along because they need the help, because things are not always the same out of the gate. So that's what equity means in the state of Minnesota. I gave you some definitions so on the first page so you can see what they are. These came from the state of Minnesota. These are the definitions we have to use. And so those are just so you can see them. There's two parts of the equity plan that you have before you. The first one, and I put it in the same format as what you've seen before. And again, this is just a rough draft. There are going to be changes here. So the first one is simply, we're going to have equal opportunities for kids. To make this very simple, this isn't complicated. We just want all kids to have equal access and have a fair shot at the courses and any after-school activities, any opportunity. We just want all kids to have just an equal shot. So we don't want to prevent a group of kids from doing something. We want them to all have an equal shot at doing it. Doesn't mean they're all getting the same outcome. Doesn't mean that at all. It just means to participate, we're going to give you an equal shot. So if you want to join an after-school activity, you're certainly welcome. But what you do with it is up to you. We're going to open it up, for example, for basketball. Anyone can try out for basketball. We're going to open it up so anyone can try out for basketball. But once you try out, it's up to you. You got to make the team or do what you need to do. We're just going to give you equal access. So that's what the first one says. The second goal area says we're simply going to appreciate and celebrate differences and similarities. This is not a complicated topic. We just want, everybody's different. Everybody has different strengths. Everybody has different weaknesses. We are not the same. All we want is to treat our kids and celebrate their differences. Because somebody's different, that's not a bad thing. Because somebody is from a different background, that's not a bad thing. That's just something to celebrate. And if you disagree with someone from a different background or something, what we want is to just leave them alone and celebrate and appreciate the strengths. All of our kids have different strengths, and they're coming from different backgrounds. So in this main one, we simply want to appreciate and celebrate differences and similarities. Now, how do we get there? Again, this is a rough draft. I have listed on both of these some different potential activities that we could do with both our teachers and with our students. So for example, this is not all-encompassing, and it doesn't mean that everything listed here will make it to the final plan. Some of the ones that are in there, having a student diversity group, doing some type of relationship building with our kids, with our staff and our kids. For example, sending kids to the Minnesota State High School League. Together we make a difference. It's Friday, I believe it is. It's Friday, Deanna, right? Yep. The dean at Virginia High School is standing in the background, sitting in the background. So it's from all over the state, kids are coming together and they're going to do a big workshop with them on Together We Can Make a Difference. And that's run by the Minnesota. We are sending kids there. I think it's half from Evelyn Gilbert High School and half from Virginia High School. We also are going to be doing Dr. Martin Luther King activities, either during the week or the month. We'll be doing some sort of activities, just like we do with some of our other days. Restorative circles is another possibility. That is not quite the same as restorative justice, but it is a possibility. Staff development with staff, so our staff understand. So if we have kids coming from different backgrounds, do we need to talk differently to them? Are there things that we should know about kids from different backgrounds? Maybe. So maybe we need to do something with staff development, and also the same thing applies with our kids. So our kids understand, and this is important, we are designing a career academy. And most of you saw the Career Academy, and the public will get into the Career Academy. Well, the reality is in the Career Academy is that do you have to work with people from different backgrounds? Do you have to work with people from different cultures? Do you have to work with people who aren't quite like you? Maybe they come from the same family, household, geographical area? Yeah, you do. And we want our kids to be successful. We want our kids to be the ones making treaties with the South Americans. We want our kids to be fixing and designing these drones and electronics that are going all over the world. But stuff like that means our kids need to understand and be able to work with people from different backgrounds. And that in a career academy is even more important. We also we work on equity literacy, anonymous reporting. We actually have that right now. So kids can anonymously report something that they see. We have anti-racism policies. You as a board, you look at that because you're the group who looks at policies and passes those policies. And then positive community norms, only because we're lucky. This is what Cassandra Haney is doing right now. So we have a group that has met. We have talked a couple of times, and we will continue meeting. However, this is where I really want 1, 2, or 3 school board members to come. We have a meeting set up for next Wednesday, not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday from 5 to 7 o'clock. We're going to be right here. We will have some staff members present. We're going to have some students present. And then we'll have some other people there represented. And I would like to have some school board members there to participate in the discussion. And what we would do is talk about this, the rough draft, changes, suggestions, scratch some things out, maybe add some things, but keep moving on the rough draft and based upon how that meeting goes, maybe we meet again, maybe we don't, but then ultimately it would come back to this board in more of a proposed final shape. So one thing I'm looking for is 1, 2, or 3 board members to join us next Wednesday from 5 to 7. And we'll even bring in food.
That's the 18th, correct?
Yep.
I can probably attend.
I would attend.
I could probably attend that as well.
You're 3.
Perfect. We'd love to have you.
I'll be there too.
And it's a and we can only have 3 because there's now 7 of you, so I need to have not a quorum.
Yep.
So which 3?
I will attend.
Brandy, Lisa.
Brandy and Nicole?
Yep.
There's Paul.
Tell me.
Polly wants to too, so.
Paulie wants to, so which one of you guys are gonna?
You tell me.
You can only have 3.
I can step back, so Polly.
No,
can
that's
go.
fine. No, you go.
Okay.
Who's attending, Nicole?
Lisa, Brandy, and Nicole.
Yep.
And I'll send you an email with more details about it, so you go from there.
And that's here.
It'll be right here, yep.
Okay.
Any questions about the rough draft of the equity plan right now?
I do have one. So this, Russ, you mentioned the state of Minnesota. So is this information coming from the state of Minnesota to follow the?
Are they giving us guidelines?
Correct, yeah.
Yes, the state of Minnesota is encouraging school districts to create equity plans and do some of these activities. Almost all the states are doing the same thing. Yes, the state of Minnesota MD is encouraging.
So the mission here is to fine tune it to our school. Is that what you're hoping, if I'm
Yes,
listening to you
We
right?
are looking for something that will work here. We are looking something that will work with our community and our citizens and our students. Yes,
But it's not a mandate. It's just an encouragement and a suggestion.
right. But I would put this under, this is something that because of the Career Academy, we should be paying attention to.
I have a question. So Noel, you said that equity doesn't mean the same outcome. It doesn't end up, so not everybody ends up with the same thing. But that's not what the definition from Minnesota Department of Ed says under educational equity. Because it says, It says, for students, you want to ensure an equitable outcome. Equity is different from equality. Equity is a principle that's based upon justice and fairness, while equality demands everyone be treated at the same level. Educational equity recognizes historical conditions and barriers that have prevented opportunity and success in learning for students based on their races, incomes, and other social conditions, and these need to be eliminated. So it's a little different than how you explained it. What you were explaining was financial equity when we have, when we were talking about the bonding and everything, when Virginia was going to get more and Evelyn Gilbert was going to get less. What's that called? Equity adjustments in finance. Okay, so that's totally different than educational equity. And
no, Director Sorkin, I don't believe it is. For example, what you just read, I'll give you a good example, is that, which is why we have Avid and why we have REACH. We know, and this is all across schools, we know that kids who are, I don't care what color their skin is, kids who are poor, from poor backgrounds, they do not sign up for the advanced courses at the same rate as kids who come from affluent backgrounds. So what that means is we need to help kids who are coming from poorer backgrounds so that we need to encourage them so that they're taking the trigonometries, they're taking the advanced, they're taking the college and the school, they're taking the advanced placement. So do we need to spend a little bit more time with our poor kids? Yeah, we do, because they're the ones who need the extra help and support. So we're going to do that so they have an equitable opportunity to take that class.
Is this something that we're not doing right now, or what, I mean, aren't we have Title I and different things to help. So, I mean, we're already doing some of this, correct?
Yes, Title I is an excellent example of where we're currently already have something going, especially in the elementary. Yep, that is correct.
Just enhancing what we're presently doing.
Yes, I believe we have additional areas and groups of kids that we need to help. And do it fairly.
so what do you mean about restorative circles, and how is that different than restorative justice and restorative discipline?
Well, restorative justice, this is actually becoming more common in the areas of police, social workers, working with people who have, I know this is going to sound like a tangent, that's where a lot of it started from. Meaning, do we always lock somebody up? Or, in some cases, can we do things with them so that they work with the victim in some way that's safe so that we don't have to lock up as many people? And that's where some of the restorative justice started. And that's still happening in the criminal justice system. And that was because there are some kids you don't need to lock them up. There's other ways you can help them so that they're making better decisions down the road. And so this idea has been around for 50 years. The restorative circles, for example, sometimes what this means, sometimes I'll use the term groups. You'll have kids in groups, adults in groups too, and they talk about the problems that are going on. And sometimes if you get kids together in a group, if they talk about things and just have an opportunity to talk about things, things get better. They feel better. And so sometimes these are called restorative circles. Sometimes in schools they will, but this isn't necessarily common, they will, like someone does something horrible to another kid, calls them horrible names or something like that. Sometimes in a restorative circle or group, small group, there's an adult always present. They will talk about the issues and see if the two kids can at least understand the other side. And so they can be a little more nicer and smarter when they're working with kids who maybe aren't just exactly like them. And so that's where the restorative circles go. But it is being encouraged by MDE. And I think what we want to do, and I want to say this, is that on the equity plan, and I've said this all along, in any area, we want to do those things that research says works. So there are some things that haven't worked in the world of equity. Schools have done them in different, but the research isn't really that good. However, there's some other things that have worked, and the research is pretty strong. So we want to focus and zero in on the research activities that seem to have the biggest lever and seem to work the best.
And again, that's very subjective of what research says. And I've been in restorative circles, so I know what they're about. And they can draw out very strong emotions and trouble people very, very deeply. And so in my opinion, it's a form of psychotherapy that I don't think we should be messing with. And even if it is, it should be a licensed psychotherapist or whatever. This is getting into some real controversial stuff. And it is a particular educational philosophy, and there are other educational philosophies out there. And I want to be sure that this is what our community wants. And if they know it clearly and specifically what it's all about, and then we decide if we want that for our school and our community.
And Director Sorkin, you hit on an excellent point. I don't want this to be a philosophy.
But it is.
I want this, no,
It
I
is.
want this to be stuff that works. There's a difference between a philosophy and something that works. We want to look, and we also want to have a toolbox. So depending upon the situation and what's going on with their deans, with their principals, counselors, social work, they can pick what works best in that situation with those kids based upon what happens. So we need to have a large toolbox so we don't just do the same thing, hit everything with a hammer.
And I'd just like to say educational practices are based on educational philosophies and educational paradigms and educational worldviews. And so, yes, they are based.
And I'm going to agree with you that that's the way a lot of schools have done them in the past. And that's where schools have done stuff that's how the reading war started. That's how we stopped teaching phonics in the elementary schools, even though the research was very clear that research phonics works. But what happened is we ignored the research. We followed the philosophy, the whole language approach. But so I'm suggesting that we stick to what actually works.
Well, maybe we should investigate the Glasser Quality Schools movement, and maybe that's something that we would like to have in our district too. So that's fine. I'm done.
Thank you. I just have one question, and I don't know if this is appropriate or if we should wait till next week. I just don't know a lot about the restorative circle idea. Could you just give me like a made-up scenario where it would be, like, how would that work? Like, would parents be notified? Would this be something like?
I would say this, because the board has been meeting for a while. Are you okay? Because I know you're going to the meeting in a week and a half.
Yeah, I'm okay to wait. Yeah.
Can you hold your
Okay.
thought?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll cover that more in depth.
Sure.
In the meeting in a week and a half.
Sure.
Any other questions from the board?
Thanks, Noel.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving along to 13 policies. 13.1.
And I'd like to take them separately, please.
Just the ones that have changes, correct?
Yeah, well, we have two sets, substantive and non-substantive.
Right.
I'd particularly like to talk about 206 because that's been.
All right.
We do them in order?
We hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, 13.1, we're going to 13.11. Okay, which will be 13.
I don't even have.
20302, which is order of regular meeting, okay? So you want to approve those one by one? Or you want to, can I get a motion to approve
Yeah.
203?
Yeah, let's go.
I'll make a motion to approve 203.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion?
No, from my memory, I think I have no comments on that one.
Okay. Policy 206, public partition.
Are we going to vote on that?
Oh, excuse me, yes, I'm sorry. Been a long day. All those in favor of approving policy 203, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Policy 206.
Right, at the last meeting, I passed out for our review, board review for this reading, of the second reading, of my observations and my, what I thought were contradictions between policy 206 and the guidelines, and I don't know if the board members that are still with us had a chance or studied that or not. And then those also have something to do with 203.5, board meeting agendas, policy 103, complaints, and I think I referred to all of those in my notes in the margins. So there's a lot here than just changing not agenda items, taking agenda items only out, and then changing the 10 people at a time, and changing that 3 hours before the meeting, you can sign up, but the board chair will have the discretion to whatever. I think it's more to it than just making.
Well, I've looked at all other, a whole bunch of school districts, okay? And they seem to have that same model policy, okay? Where if the number of people is, the number of people that can speak is under the discretion of the chair. So we were asked to put a number on it. So we put a number on it.
Who was asked to put a number on it?
The policy committee.
Yeah.
Yeah, the policy.
Yeah, but when we listened to the public, they wanted a number. What is that number? We heard that. What is that number? We don't know what the number is. Okay?
Can I make a suggestion?
I mean, so not out of complete fairness, I mean, our policy committee has done very, very well to try to cater to the public, and it's not good enough yet.
I don't think the public said they wanted to be limited to how many people could talk.
They wanted to know what the number was.
Well, they didn't.
So we put a number in it.
They didn't ask for a number, Bill.
I'm gonna.
They didn't ask for
Can I make a suggestion?
Okay, well, can I just say, I was on the policy committee. In good faith, John and Brandy, we were just trying to make it better. So we weren't trying to limit anything. And typically that I've seen, at least the past year, is that you don't even get, maybe 2 people to speak. It's not a lot of people.
That's correct.
So I just want it to be known that we were trying to make it more, or easier, friendlier for people to come speak.
And it should be.
Yeah.
It is. We agree that we need to make it easier.
We made it on any topic. We had the discussion as well about, because we recognize too that maybe somebody doesn't have the internet or that capability. They can make a phone call to the district office and say that they'd like to speak, and there's guidelines for that. I mean, I feel like what's being presented here today, I think that it again encourages people to come and speak with us. We do have to have some sort of guideline, and I think having a number of 10 is realistic because we do have business to tend to when we're meeting for school board meetings. I mean, we still have a whole lot to do yet tonight, and it's almost 8:30. So I mean, just to be cognizant of everybody's time, even the people that are sitting in the audience to speak on things. We're just trying to be cognizant of everybody's time. We, again, it says, all those wishing to address the school board shall notify the district office or the school board chair at least 3 hours prior to the start of the school board meeting. The school board chair may make exceptions and is authorized to use his or her discretion if a request is submitted less than 3 hours prior to the start of the school board meeting. A maximum of 10 people allowed. I'm comfortable with this. We had a lot of discussion about it, and we talked about making sure things match up, with the form and with what's, in the policy, making sure everything matches up. And I trust that the individuals that are doing that are going to make sure that that happens. If it doesn't and we need to revisit it, we'll revisit it. But I do feel like I think this is encouraging people to come and speak to us. And I feel like we have been open to people coming to public meetings and discussing with us. I mean, look at all of the listening sessions we've held with people throughout the collaboration, consolidation discussion. We had the open forum, the public forum. We invited people specifically to come and talk to us and have discussions with us. I always invite people to, reach out through email. I have my Facebook page that I update with when we're having meetings. And granted, it still says EG School Board because it didn't allow me to change it. But but I'm doing my best as well individually to let people know when meetings are and what we're discussing at those meetings. And I just don't feel like we're keeping people from speaking.
Well, Brandy, wait, now, you didn't, evidently you didn't read my notes, because there is conflicting language with the guidelines the form, and then with the directions for the form and policy 206. Then there's policy 2031 that says the school board has the authority to recognize any member of the audience that wishes to be heard. That's not congruent with signing up or being limited. And, you know, for every school district that you say has a limit or whatever, there are many, many that don't. We had the mayor of Virginia here. They don't have anything. They come up, they say, anybody wants to come to the podium, speak for 5 minutes. They don't interrupt them or anything. Evelyn has that. I think Gilbert has that.
They're a city, though.
Oh, can I interrupt you
Yeah.
for one
Yeah.
second? Because I
Different.
want to talk on this.
Give me back the floor,
This is true because I did do a little research just to see what other schools in our area, their policy, and they are a lot freer than what we have, exception of Mesabi East. But typically you come to the meeting and you need to sign up 15 minutes before the meeting and they give it to the chair and then the chair calls them and anyone can talk, and usually there's a limit on the time, like 3 minutes or 5 minutes. So I personally, you know, I know I was part of the policy, but like the more I investigate it, I like that openness a lot. And I don't know, I'd like to get to that at some point, just to be like, if you want to speak on anything, if it's positive, negative, whatever, I feel like, you know, the transparency is good and the goodwill, you know. I know that it could be abused, but I think we just I'd like to see it this way and then we just see what happens, I guess.
You go ahead, Tim.
I have no problems with changing 206 to the way the policy committee wrote it. But if we change it, it has to go back. If we propose any change, it has to go back to the policy committee. So why don't we just pass 206 as it is here? The next meeting will be the third and final reading. And if we have to massage it down the road because it doesn't correlate with 2035 or 1031 or 2031, we can make changes to them. But
because right now
we're not getting this done, and Polly, to make the changes you want, then this policy should go back to the school board policy committee to make the changes. And I concur with what Brandy said and John and Nicole. They've done their best to tweak this to make it a little bit more presentable to the public, and I think that's what we should do.
The problem is, my turn. The problem is that I said the same thing for the first reading. Here's the second reading, and you're putting it off again to the third reading, and then that's the last chance. And I can tell right now that you did not take into consideration all of my work and all of the ways I showed that these things are incongruent. And I think this all happened when the Evelyn Gilbert board changed the policy to include a form, to include not visitor input and visitor input. And I'll tell you what, I think the solution is, let's go back to the original MSBA policy and adopt it word for word. That would end all of this, the trouble.
That's what we tried to do.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You've never gone back to the verbiage, because I just pulled it up and I looked at it, and it says, you can talk on any topic, period, done. Okay? And you can sign up. We used to have 15 minutes before the meeting in Evelyn Gilbert. Then it went to 24 hours. Okay, I see no problem. And let's make it inviting and open instead of antagonistic.
That's what the policy committee tried to do. We try to make it more inviting and more open.
And I think you can make it even more open by my suggestion.
So the suggestion from you, Polly, is to go back to MSBA model policy, how it originally started when the policy committee met.
No, what it says right now today, because they revised it in 2022. So go back to that, and all these problems will be done. All of them, the form, the online thing, the time limit. I mean, not the time limit, the 3 minutes. That's fine. That's arbitrary. And the time that you have to notify the district that you want to speak, and then the discretion of the chair. Sometimes the chairs would let somebody talk on non-agenda items, and they wouldn't let somebody talk on agenda items because supposedly they didn't get notified. Let's just make it more open.
Yeah, that has happened.
Yeah, your work was fine. I'm not criticizing your work. I'm just saying you did try, but I think it can be even better. And the other thing is, bring it back, Polly. Polly can't speak at committee meetings, so I have no input. This is my only input at the full board level. So there you go again. There's another catch.
Okay, I'm going to ask this board,
Every policy that we get for revisions, when they give them to us, are the updated MSBA
Correct.
policies.
Correct.
So that's.
But you revised it. You've revised
done. And you're right. Back when, 6 years ago, when I got on the school board, it was different. And people were coming at that time saying that, and it was the 5-minute thing or whatever. And people were coming back to the school board saying that they didn't understand. It was complicated. So again, that's why I tried to develop like a brochure that would explain things so people could just grab the brochure and know what they needed to do in order to get to speak.
And every board can make the policy the way that the board wants to do it.
at the time.
Right. I mean, so if we wanted to make it so somebody comes in and there's a piece of paper, 15 minutes, we could do that, potentially, right?
Like if we said that
If
15 minutes?
Board agreed, sure.
If the board agreed. So really, the bottom line is that we, as a board, we can change it to whatever we want it to be.
Committees make recommendations and then the full board.
The recommendation to the board, and this was the recommendation we're bringing to the board from the committee. So the way that this goes then is we vote on it. And if it passes, and we move on. If it doesn't pass, then we have more discussion. And but one question I do have though, Noel, if we don't pass this, we're going by the current policy.
We're doing the current
So
right
the
now.
if we don't pass this as it is being presented today, people aren't being given that opportunity to come and speak on any topic.
We can pass it
So
with.
like the questions that Mr. Walton was asking tonight, really, we haven't voted on this and changed the policy that we currently have to make anything different for talking about any topic.
That's my point exactly, but we can open it up even better and even more, and then the people can have that openness and that.
Chair, I'm going to make a motion that we pass 206 as presented by the policy committee.
Support.
Okay. Got a motion by Director Reardon, support by Director Lotiger. Any more discussion?
Can we just clarify this? So if we do not pass it, then again, I know we already said this is redundant, but it would just stay as.
It reverts back to what the current policy is right now.
All the old stuff.
Okay.
That we took out to make it.
And then, so if we pass it, but we can still tweak it as we go.
Yes.
I would strongly recommend that if we pass this, that we go.
It goes to the third reading, but
That we have a meeting on it, okay? And we go right back to the original MSBA model policy where we started.
Okay, gotcha.
As that is written by them. And I know, Polly, I mean, I'm not trying to, but when I first got on the board, the MSBA was the gospel. Okay, but now but now it's like they're just an advisory committee. Okay, they're just
You can't say that and put words in my mouth.
No, but I'm just saying.
Sometimes the policy committee, I suggested all kinds of things about student privacy, and all I was told at the last meeting was MSBA, they know they've got lawyers and we have to adopt it the way it is. But now you're not going to adopt the 206 policy the way they wrote it. Now, you can't have it both ways. You can't change it.
My motion is to adopt it as it was presented. It's not to go back to 206.
I know that.
2022 and look at it.
So I have a question then, clarification.
And she supported.
I mean, nothing disparaging, Polly. I mean, I never mean nothing disparaging at all. But it's just that if we started out with 206 as written by MSBA, and then we tweaked it and tried to tweak it, and now we tweak it, now we're talking about going back to what MSBA, it's just kind of like these committee meetings, where I know you were there and you had no input, but it would make life, I mean, I don't know. It would just, if that was the case, we should just adopt it as MSBA presented it.
And why didn't that board? That would have been the thing to do, is not to have changed it back then, because you changed it to agenda items only back then. That's the problem.
We were doing a good thing.
So we got a motion.
I am going to say this though. I'm kind of feeling like some of our committees with teachers, when they've sat down and had discussions and and made recommendations to the school board, and the school board totally nixed all the work that they put into it. I mean, you know, we've been putting a lot of time into the policies that we're looking at and rewriting or revising, and I feel like it kind of wasted our time.
Yeah. I agree.
It's not
Because we were going back to the original policy that we first started looking at.
Because this
At
one
the
is-
beginning.
This one is.
So I do feel like.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to call the question.
All right.
Listen, now, you can't cut
Hey,
me
hey.
off, Tim, you're not the chair.
I'm the
and
chair. Order,
I have
order,
the
Polly.
floor.
Order.
Brandy, at that committee meeting, you said, well, we have recommendations, but it's going to go to the full board and they can change it if they want. Now, I'm only asking for the full board to consider these changes. Yes, committees, they do a lot of work. They bring recommendations to the board, and then the full board gets to deliberate on it and then change it, tweak it, accept it, reject it, whatever. All I'm saying is, yes, it was a big improvement, the changes you made, especially the agenda items only. I'm just saying, this could be better, and it's still confusing, and nobody even looked at my stuff.
It's a new board, there's going to be new committees.
Right.
Let's pass it, and then if it has to go back to a new committee, a new board, then they can do it at that time.
I
Want
do
to go back
think we
to,
should streamline it, though, to make it, you know, that it is, like, our whole policy is concurrent.
And again, I feel like, you know, our people, our administrative assistants, and they look at that stuff and they put it together and put it online or whatever the case may be, and I trust that they're.
Did you read this, Brandy?
Match up.
Did you read this?
So I read parts.
Back in like parts.
I didn't read the whole.
I showed you.
I read.
Conflicting. Well, parts of it, see, you're not even taking into consideration where I'm showing that it's
Okay.
confusing.
All those in favor of approving policy 206 as presented tonight signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Then what? I move that we have a full board meeting to discuss this, because otherwise only committee members get input and nothing gets changed at the board level, or even gets considered at the board level.
Move on.
Okay.
A working
Policy.
session.
If we have a working session before a meeting, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
515, protection and privacy pupils, or pupil records.
make a motion to accept that policy.
All support. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Let me see, what do we got here?
534.
534, okay, 534, meals policy.
So moved.
Okay. Moved by Director Sorkin, support by Director Lotiker. Any discussion?
Does that have the recent Attorney General's changes in there, or does MSB?
I'm sure.
They upgraded this in January.
This January? Is it just?
November 17, 22, it says here.
Okay.
They just, okay.
Okay, all those in favor, any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Policy 206.
Nope, 604.
604.
I'll go back.
Okay, 604.
Nice try.
Did you do 515?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
604, instructional curriculum.
So moved.
Support.
Support by Reardon, or support.
It's easier just to say John and Tim.
Yeah, John and Tim. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 722, public data requests.
So moved.
Support.
By John and Brandy. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move that we take that rest of them all in one swoop.
Very good. Okay, so the third.
Support that.
Okay. 13.2, which will include 101, 103, 203, 5, 207, 301, 302, 303, 304, 401, 402, 403, 408, 514, 516, and 520.
Very good.
Okay? All those in favor of approving these policies as presented signify by saying, no, who supported it?
Polly and John.
Polly and John, okay? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 14 administrative items, 14.1, consider approval of a memorandum of understanding for the Iron Range Partnership for Sustainability for Independent School District 2909 for the Deep Winter Greenhouse on Rock Ridge campus. Sorry. It took so long.
He's just been hanging in there.
He told me this is longer than a hospital meeting.
No, thanks for letting me speak. I was here back in August and I met a bunch of people to review. So I won't take a lot of time, but what we're really looking to do is hopefully build what's called a deep winter greenhouse. It's something the University of Minnesota has put together a bunch of different plans, and it's basically a passive solar greenhouse. So in our northern climate, a regular greenhouse is so expensive to run in the winter. This is a greenhouse that uses heat from the sun to sort of heat up the rocks, and that the heat is stored, and then that heat is released during the night when you don't have the passive. So, what we're hoping to do is get a motion to approve a memorandum of understanding that we've put together, and working with Dr. Schmidt and the school attorney has looked at that too. The basics of that is IRPS, which is Iron Range Partner for Sustainability, is going to work to raise the money to build the greenhouse. So we've met with the principals and Cross Anderson and Cunningham and a lot of different groups of people, and the goal is that we will have basically 3 years to raise sufficient funds. The estimated cost from Cross Anderson is $50,000 to $70,000 to build the greenhouse, and it may be a little bit more. If we don't raise the funds in that amount of time, then the memorandum of understanding basically goes away. Once we raise the funds, the school has a year to start construction on the greenhouse. And then I think it was a 2-year time frame to complete construction. We're talking about a 24 by 24 structure. And I feel like good faith, like we're in a good spot. You know, it's hard to know exactly what costs are going to be for sure. You know, we could run into construction issues that are going to make it more expensive, and we'll do our best to sort of raise more money, but I guess aren't making promises, but hoping to do this for the school. Money will be raised through grants, and then also some, I think, just try and get some people to donate money, and then do our best to raise the funds. I should introduce Shar Conger's with me too. Sorry, Shar works at Entrepreneur Fund, and she's worked hard with me on kind of getting this going and getting the memorandum worked up. And I made one mistake on that. I was the IRPS board chair to the end of December, so the signatory will be Marliese Riffle. She took over as the board chair January 1st on the document. Change that, but any questions at all on what we're asking?
I like it.
I think it's cool.
I like it.
Yeah, very cool.
I like it.
I'll make a motion that we approve the MOU.
I'll support.
Okay. We got Tim and Nicole supporting 14-1. Any discussion amongst the board members? None being had. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You know, I'm sorry, kept you for 2.5 hours just for 5 minutes worth of work.
It's interesting. It makes me appreciate you guys as board members. It's a
Thank
tough
you.
job, but.
Thank you.
Maybe
Thank
next.
you.
Thank you.
We can be cognizant
Yeah.
of movie presenters.
I actually, yeah, that's
That's
probably a
what I
good
re-
idea.
Present.
I agree.
14-2, consider for request to carry or introduce a supplemental school instruction funding bill. Well,
Members of the board, as I alluded to earlier in the meeting, we still want to look for funding sources because we still don't have the money we need to complete all the projects. So there are two primary legislative avenues we're going to use this spring. And the reason why, again, I have to keep saying this because people keep forgetting, is, and this is for folks on the camera too, is that these projects were priced appropriately, they were done correctly, we did estimate, and then COVID hit. And then prices just started spiraling like crazy. And we're one of the few districts who passed something, and then we had to wait before we started doing some construction, especially on North Star. So this is one that you have in front of you. We do need some champions to carry the bill. So this is a letter we would like to send to these two politicians to give them, for us to ask to carry the bill in the House and the Senate. And it's one Democrat, one Republican. There are other schools involved in this request, and that is because the exact same thing happened to them, especially in Mabel Canton, which is a small district way south, almost by the Iowa border in the Rochester area, Bluff Country down there. They had the same situation happen to them, millions in overruns just because of the costing. So we're asking the board to consider this request here. This is one of the avenues. The other avenue we're also going to talk through is the sales tax exemption. We're talking about this in the spring with politicians. That's going to come up a little bit later. I am going to go down to the Capitol and meet some important people and talk to them about some of the things we would like to see happen up here. But for now, this is, we're asking the school board to say, are you okay if we ask these two politicians to go forward and carry the bill?
I'll make a motion that we approve.
I'll support. Okay. Motion by Tim Reardon, support by Director Addy. Any discussion on 14.2?
I have a question. Was it intended that this money would come out? I think the conversation started with the budget surplus money, that might be the likely pot that this would come out of?
It is, Director Smith. That is, I believe, in talking to people who are in the know, that is probably where it would come from, yes.
Was that, how many millions or billions was that?
6 billion.
Yeah.
What are the numbers, guys? Billion. Okay,
We're not to dictate where the state sends that money.
Yep.
We're not. If they want to, if our legislatures, our guys down there are going to get us the money, amen. Okay, that's how I look at it.
And we've got both sides of the aisle
Yep.
working in our favor,
Yep.
and it involves both of our districts and the legislators we're asking, so.
in principle, I kind of have a, I don't know what the right word is, a conundrum, because as an individual taxpayer, and a board member of a school district that could really use this money, then again, if, there are all taxpayers out there, should we all not get proportionate money back that we paid in, and not just certain ones that maybe have a hard need, and this is a hard need, I understand it. But there's a principle there that I'm not sure I'm comfortable with, and maybe who has the best lobbyists and who has maybe more influence down there to get the money, versus would the fair thing be to distribute it back to the people who paid it in? So, it's a philosophical thing.
If I remember right, a lot of that tax dollars that the state, a lot of the surplus was based on the taxes from the federal COVID money. Had something to do with
COVID money doesn't get taxed.
No, I mean, it was the money the stimulus money.
Yeah, I don't trust that.
Less money.
I don't think that's for us to
The big thing here, the first one is the sales tax rebate. They took that away from schools back in the 90s, if I'm correct on that. And what we're asking them to do is to reinstate where schools doing projects like this, we don't have to pay, we've already paid it, so they will
reimburse us.
They'll reimburse us the millions of dollars that we paid in sales tax.
That the contractors paid on the.
Right.
But that's not this one, that's a different one. That's not included in this one. I have less of a problem with that, and probably no problem at all with that one, but this one, let's just vote. Let that do.
Okay, so no more discussion being had on 14.2. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Abstain for the reasons I.
14.2, consider, 14.3, consider approval of purchase of elevated bleachers for Rock Ridge varsity baseball field. As you probably saw in your packet, there was some information in regards to that. Willie, you're walking up. Are you going to present us with something?
Willie's coming.
Oh, Willie's on his way.
Good evening. Hello, new board members. Thank you for your commitment to the Rockridge School District, and thank you all returning board members for your commitment to the Rockridge School District. Very much appreciated. Thank you very much. Yes, you have everything in there, but Board Chair, I would like to revisit and reference item number 43 in the consent agenda. I don't always know where stuff is going to go. And item number 43 in the consent agenda is acceptance of an additional donation from Robert Burnsdale of $60,000, making his total donation $100,000 for Rockridge High School band uniforms and other needs of the music arts, band, choir, and orchestra. And I just want to tell him thank you, and I wanted to recognize him at tonight's meeting, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He has been a huge supporter of our Rockridge Rising campaign the entire time, and still continues to give and give and give, and did before to both schools when they were separate, and is still now. Thank you very much, Mr. Burnsdale. I appreciate that opportunity. I'll just kind of sit here, and I don't, one thing they told me one time, I didn't always listen, is don't talk. It looks like it's going to go through, so have at it.
So Willie, you were just up here just to consider approval of the purchase of the,
I
elevated.
sat here for nearly 3 hours for this consideration. Yes, that's how committed I am. I hope you'll take that into consideration when you do our contract reading thing or whatever you're doing.
Okay.
Don't push your luck.
Can I get a motion for,
I will make that motion as part of this.
I'll second.
okay,
And,
John Nicole.
John and Nicole.
I do have a question about this, because I do remember something being brought up to me about those bleachers being very,
inadequate?
inadequate, low budget.
Yeah.
Is this, are they still the same?
I
They're
don't know that the bleachers were low budget. They're very nice.
Okay.
The ones that we have, I want to make sure that pardon me, can correct that. They're very nice. They're just physically too low.
Okay.
Because of the type of backstop we have.
Okay.
So that's basically the problem with the current ones.
And they're very small.
That's right. I remember.
These are elevated, so you got to step
So
up.
these are improved from,
That, what is it? I think it's a piece of plywood.
Yeah.
It'll get us above the 4-foot height of the plywood that's holding the beautiful padding there, so.
okay, that's all I wanted to know, that.
And those other ones are, 4 rows, these are 10 rows, so you
Okay.
much more seating and they're elevated.
And elevated and a grandstand feel like you would want in a varsity field.
Okay, great.
All righty.
Do we have any other comparable bids or quotes for these, or did we solicit from any place else for comparison purposes?
Yes, we do. I believe they're in your packet. Aren't they?
Not, no.
Are they in the electronic packet?
Or just the one that you're recommending?
Then I stand corrected. Yes, right here.
Just, this is evidently the one you're recommending, but
We could pay $91,000 with Cape Park Recreation if you were. I'm just teasing you. And then a third one came in from St. Croix Rec, and he said, thank you for reaching out. I reached out to a couple manufacturers we worked with, and it sounds like you spoke, and they were not able to help. So there were 3 attempts at quotes.
And multiple phone calls and
Oh my
emails.
gosh,
And,
phone calls and emails that we were on.
yeah.
no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying a comparable, if you're worried about maybe the quality of them, for twice the money, would it be twice the quality? You know,
I think I corrected about the fact we're not worried about the quality.
okay.
The quality is very good of what we have. This will match it in an elevated style with handicap accessibility, and they'll be
Just
beautiful.
out of curiosity, what are they like? Like,
They're metal aluminum bleachers.
oh, okay.
That will start here.
4 feet up.
Right, 4 feet off the ground instead of starting a foot off the ground, half a foot off the ground with the first row.
With handicap accessibility.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Noel, would this come out of general fund money or our bonding money?
Actually, I think that's in the letter, I think.
Donation money?
100% donation.
Yeah, from City Hourglass, correct?
Okay.
From City Auto Glass, rights of the field.
Yep.
That's where they would like the money to be go towards. So that's what made this 100% affordable.
We pay for ground restoration, and what's P&P bonds? What's a
I don't know.
P&P bond?
Say that again?
We are,
Oh, for ground prep under the bleacher, if need be, when they come up here and look, they'll let us know what we need to do possibly,
It's a-
or maybe nothing.
There's P&P
Reinforce.
bonds though. P&P bonds?
I'm not sure.
Okay, and ground restoration. All right.
Ground restoration will just be preparation for a bigger bleacher.
Okay.
That would be our cost, whatever that is.
That would be included in the donation money,
It says exclusions.
but the donation's more, so we can
Yeah.
use the donation money to help that.
Okay, any more discussion? None being had, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you to the
14.
baseball booster club for working.
Yes, yes.
Lead time,
Thank you.
last question, lead time on the bleachers, do we?
I'll find out tomorrow, hopefully in March.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Right, I remember
I'm gonna hold
reading
you to
that in
that.
the 37 emails, right?
I'm gonna hold you to it.
Thank you, Willie.
Thanks, Willie. 14.4, consider approval of purchase request of a trailer to be used by the maintenance department. Sorry, Mr. Og, you
You
come.
guys are all walking really
Yeah.
slowly today.
Just here in case you guys got some questions on this, I can explain all details or anything you want to know about it.
Which one are you recommending?
I'm recommending the less expensive.
The Pine River sales.
All
Yeah,
right,
That one, no, we researched this for quite a while. That trailer, and I went through our whole maintenance department, some of the older employees and everything else, what they thought, and got everyone's thoughts. That trailer would suit the needs of everybody in that department, whether we're hauling bigger equipment, even helping with the move stuff, I mean, everything. And it's a more safer trailer. The fenders actually pull off, so if you have a wider piece of equipment, it fits on there. It's aluminum, hopefully it lasts a lot longer. It's a tandem trailer, it'll hold up to like 6,000 pounds almost, so even if we had to put a Suburban on there, we could, I mean, so it's real practical right across the board.
okay,
And it's a hydraulic one where we don't have to have ramps for it.
okay.
And one person can operate it, it's safer. To me, it was the best pick.
I'll make a motion that we,
I'll support the
Purchase.
Pine River.
from Pine
Yeah.
River sale.
Any more discussions? We got a motion by Tim with support by Randy. Any more discussion?
Is it in stock? Is it in stock?
Yes, it was. But they said so.
Okay, no discussion being had. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
14.
Don't take so much time next time.
14.5, consider
Funny.
continuing Iron Range Associates of Municipalities and Schools active membership status.
I mean, I move.
Support, I will support her motion.
Okay, support by Director Yuhan. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting announcement, our next board meeting will be January 23, 2023 at 6 o'clock, but somewhere in the middle of there, we're going to have a meeting in regards to special meeting.
The Things that were removed from the consent
The out-
agenda, as well as.
The at-will contracts and the,
6 weeks.
Yeah, but, yeah.
we're gonna go.
But a working session before
I would suggest before the meeting if it was
Yes,
possible,
yes.
yeah.
We'll set that up to have a meeting. At that time, do you guys want to go through, like, all the contracts are pulled? Okay, you want to have this discussion and then revisit 206 on that same special meeting?
No, 206 passed.
I know 206 passed, but
206 passed, so it'll go to the third reading now
Okay.
at our next board meeting.
That's
No,
not what we
that's
talked
not what we
about.
agreed to.
Talked about having a meeting
We
to
agreed to.
discuss it.
My motion was that we pass 206 the way the policy committee presented it to us.
All right, then I'll make a motion that we have that meeting that we talked
Well,
about right after.
we've already passed it, so you can't go now and revisit it.
We passed the second reading, but we still.
Okay,
discussed
that's
it.
fine.
Yeah.
You know,
The discussion was to have more discussion on it,
Yeah.
but we did pass it. You're
Yes.
right.
Okay, so that's it. MSBA is this week. Hope everybody goes.
The only other thing is that the meeting, if it's going to be both contracts and policy 206, that there be enough time. Either one meeting or two different meetings, a working session with enough time for both of those and/or one.
So you have one special meeting.
Well, it's
Okay, all right.
working session.
A working session.
Yeah.
Before the next meeting.
Right.
But my hope is, because I don't want to keep people wondering about their jobs and their contracts forever because it's stressful. So my hope is that it's going to be on the next, it's going to be on the next consent agenda for,
Sign it, and then there's
at the next meeting.
Okay.
10 of them.
So if we're going to have a working session, beforehand, have your questions prepared. If you have questions that you have on your mind right now,
Exactly.
talk to Noel about it.
Exactly.
So is there a date that works for the board?
Policy and the contract discussion?
I would say yes. I want to do both so we can just keep it going. So what date works for, we got plenty of time before the next meeting. We set this up with the board?
I will come.
What day works for everybody?
Why don't we adjourn and then do this and sign
Okay.
all the stuff?
Yep.
So you want to adjourn, and come up with our date?
Yeah.
Which
you're
looking for.
All right. Motion to adjourn?
Support.
Okay.
I don't know if we can do that. 'Cause
I don't know.
We'd be having a discussion.
Right.
I-
All we're doing is discussing when we're going to have a meeting. You can do that.
You can do that, but I just like to be safe.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.